So if it's up here, you guys will be able to see who's zooming in. I need to mute all participants. I need to figure out how to do that. Mute all. Mute all. And then I'm going to unmute Kim. She's. Kim, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Let's see. I'm going to try and unmute Jason as well.
I'm here.
Okay, and you can mute yourself. I just didn't want you to not be able to unmute. So I muted everyone else except Kim and you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, I think we're ready.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'll call to order the public hearing to discuss the 2020-2021 district calendar. And it will center around what we're proposing for a start date. So Dr. Clapper, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, so this is not really setting our calendar. All this is setting our start date. So I propose we start August 23rd because that's the first day we can legally start. And so once we set that date, then we'll get busy on actually building the calendar. But as of right now, it's just setting the date to start. Any questions on that?
Board or any of the public that are on, have any questions on that?
If the public has a question, you can do the raise hand thing. Doesn't seem to be any questions.
Hearing no questions, do we have a motion to adjourn the public hearing? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Opposed, same sign. Public hearing's adjourned. We'll now move into the regular board meeting. I'll call that to order. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Nope.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Do we have a second? All in favor, aye? Opposed, same sign. Agenda's approved. Move into the consent items. Any board members have any questions or comments on any of those?
the audio and video speakers. What were those? Yeah. Astro speakers. 920. Yep, so we had to get some additional speakers for the outside of the building because our PA system wouldn't, we didn't have speakers out there. So for instance, if we had a fire alarm and kids were outside and then we needed to use the all call to get them back in, we didn't have speakers out there for the all call.
And with adding that, it also made it possible for the shop building to have their own fire tornado. Like there was, Pam could explain more, but they just, when they did that, they just added like a little switch. And then when they flipped that switch, then it was able to alert them that we were having a tornado over, or a fire or whatever. I think they already had tornado, but they could alert them that there was fire over here. And they didn't have that before.
And I see we, under the
you did all the cameras.
So,
So is everything working? Everything done now on that?
Well, there's one
cameras-
little update. So we have all these new cameras and they're working, but there's something about the operating system isn't updated because now we have 53 cameras and we used to have less than 53 like a lot less than that. So they have to do this updated system. So it's like a one-time fee
to get it to where.
get it to where it needs to be. And then there's like just a yearly maintenance fee.
Yeah, but it'll be, like, the one-time fee, I think, is like $1,300, and then the annual maintenance fee is like $600 or $700.
Yeah, something like that.
There is a and $300, we need to upgrade
The-
get a bigger server.
Yeah.
Because of all the cameras. We have 53
53.
cameras now, so it's taking a new, I mean, we've had that server since, we put all those cameras on, and that was here, so, it's actually lasted longer than it's supposed to.
Speaking of that, I see Johnson Control. Obviously, we have. We had to redo, update, what was it?
Yeah, I remember it too. I can't remember. I think it was the software system.
We had to replace
Mhm.
on page 6.
Yeah, they had to,
Oh, yeah. That's something with the
geothermal,
yeah,
but I think it was the monitoring system.
said, yeah, it wasn't talking to the
Yep,
server evidently.
yep.
But we replaced that.
Yep. I think we, may have had a breakthrough, maybe. We had a conversation with Pam around here, and we were talking about the order of who gets called when. And we're mostly talking about the new building because we need to make sure that things are handled in a certain order so that we don't void the warranties, okay? And so generally, the first call is Johnson Controls. Well, it may not always be a control issue, you know? And so we sort of explained to her, you know, more of the, you know, well, you call these people first, and then they'll tell you who to call after they do their investigation or whatever. Ford Construction was obviously at the top of the list because they're gonna handle all of our warranty work, tell us who to call and things like that. So I feel a little bit better about the order of who we call when.
I think that all started, Julie, with that heating issue in Bowlby room.
Yeah, did.
I was in on the conversation.
Yep, you were. Yep. And when we were talking about who to call when, you were in here as well. And so I think it maybe helped a little bit.
Might have not come in.
And we had a big list we went over with Dale today, because we talked about some of that heating issues in the, like the middle school rooms or the elementary rooms that are all not working. And Jamie, feel free to chime in if you want to, since you're here. We're pretty low key. But Dale's trying to get to the bottom of what's even causing these heating issues.
Yes, we've got a meeting lined up for Monday. That should help us out with a lot of the unit ventilator. We should at least get to the bottom of the unit ventilator. I know that Jerry Wilberding from REG was on site today and they're doing a lot of commissioning and a lot of pre-functional and walking through the functions of the equipment. So hopefully by the end of the week this week, we've got through all of the equipment and everything is working as it's intended to work.
Yeah, I sort of felt like we needed to light a fire, maybe Johnson Controls with that checklist and that, because it seems like there was quite a few things that either hadn't been tested due to that, or were in the midst of it, and it had been since August 21st, I believe.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fires that, a lot of conversations had. And so they got quite a bit of threat last week, and so we're seeing quite a bit of activity this week because we gave the deadline on Friday,
Okay.
23rd.
Good.
And so, not only have we stepped it up with the contractor, but we stepped it up with the engineer. So The email that you had received, or shared was a little bit watered down. A lot of the conversation that we had been having with them.
Okay, great.
So, yeah.
It was still,
I'm a
the
little-
email that
I'm-
I did receive. Great.
I'm a little bit concerned, as you are, with these unit ventilators. But I think it's a little bit out of the contractor's control. So I'll be interested to see how the conversation goes. I think that there's potentially some design related, but we'll see where it goes on Monday.
And so what do you
Do you
think
guys know what he's talking
options
about?
are, further options?
I don't
Like-
know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to find out because if you have to run the fan in high,
To keep
to
it
get
from
to,
tripping.
you know, you have
Mhm.
to get it to dissipate so that you don't end up with so much cooling at the coil, to freeze the coil, to then create more problems. But then having it run on high creates a lot of issues for the teacher and in the classroom because it's a huge distraction.
What do
So
you
I
think
don't-
about, do you think a different size unit?
I'm not sure.
I don't want you to speak out of turn. So.
Yeah, no, I just don't.
Can you tell them a little bit what, they don't even know what you're talking
We're
about.
talking about the.
John probably knows, but the rest
Yeah,
of them,
John
or John and
and Colette know,
Colette, but
Okay, so your 55, 67 area, kind of the area that's in the center, that abuts your two court areas. So we switched that out to create, we had to change the heating side out because it was on steam and now we're on hydronic. But we changed the cooling side out as well. And so what we're experiencing, so we had a couple of coils kind of burst because we weren't getting enough airflow, so it was cooling, it was almost cooling the coil down too much to where it would freeze inside the coil. That burst created problems. And so the communication was, well, you need to turn the fan, you need to ramp up the fan. Well, because that would create the airflow, which would then not allow the coil to contain so much coolant or so much cold that it would freeze. Well, ramping up the fan created problems within the classroom to where the instructor couldn't talk loud enough to get their voice over the fan. Now we've moved into more of a heating mode, so it's not an issue, but what we don't need is for this to, rear its head in late April, May, or in June, just trying to wrap up class. So we've got a meeting, so we've had a lot of back and forth. It's easy for it to become a construction issue because we're the end user before we're turning it over to the district. Well, a lot of the times from a construction standpoint, we're purely putting in what's been designed and providing the equipment that's been specified. And so, so I'm more concerned that, maybe seem like this is more of the root cause of this is more design. And so probably over the last week and a half to 2 weeks, we've had more engagement now with the design professionals looking into this, talking specifically with the manufacturers of the equipment to drill down to understand what's causing this. And so it's kind of come to a head to where now on Monday afternoon at 3:30, we're going to meet here. So it will be the design team, the contractor, the subcontractor, and the actual vendor that supplied the equipment. And then we'll be here as well. And then we extended Michael and Julie and Pam to engage in the same conversation, because if we don't know what's occurring, it's hard for us to replicate and understand. It's almost kind of like, I got this problem, you take it to get serviced, and all of a sudden the problem doesn't show up, right? And so you're constantly chasing it. So hopefully Monday we can kind of get to the issue, understand the issue. I don't know if we're going to solve it on Monday, but I'm hoping that we keep getting closer to getting it resolved. It may be something that we're just, now that we're in the heating season, we shouldn't have to do that. It might be something that we'll have to address potentially over Christmas break, if we can get something figured out. If not, then maybe spring break, if there is a spring break. So in a nutshell, that's kind of one of the things. The other thing is just that we have got everything installed. We were unable to get a lot of it tested out by the commissioner to make sure that it was functioning as intended. And that, all of that is occurring. So by the end of the week, by the end of the week this week, we're hopeful that we've got all of our issues resolved and we're just dealing with this unit benefit.
Sorry, I don't know why that's, I'm trying to figure out why that's.
I don't know if you have any questions.
Is everything in the new part or new construction part, that's working as it should, it's just in the,
We were having
55.
We were having some issues with that unit. I think we've got an app.
Is that the one
I
that's
do think I do think that there's still some issues, Jim. I think that I think this is rather noisy, so I think we're gonna try to spend a little bit of time with that as well. And try to understand maybe why this one pumped, because, you know, that's where your performance is at. You don't want to be dealing with a lot of pump in the middle of the theatrical or in the middle of the music concert. So my sense is we'll get into that as well, or at least look at that on Monday.
any other questions, comments on an item?
His background check, more, how come it's more than the others?
If they, actually, but there was one, so if they are in another state, or have been in another state, then they'll run the background checks in. I know what you're trying to.
Well, 40, and the 71.
Yeah, one was 40 and the other one was 20, so it's Archer and, yeah, the two last names,
Flanagan.
but Flanagan. Could be. We had 5 in that, but some of those went to elementary. It's one source, so it'd be a little lot. Flanagan and Archer. Yeah. So one was 40, 50, and the other one was 20, 50, I think is right around. But that's close. But if they have a history, we have to do a national, and so if they have a history in a second state or third state, I mean, there's times when not too long ago. How many states?
Any other questions?
I just want to give you a heads up. You now have this back for the first time this year. And so, if you remember, when we ended last year, we thought we were at about 100,000 under budget, which would have been awesome. And we were under budget, but by the time I settle all the year-end numbers and things like that, I think it ended up being about 170,000 under budget. So it was still good, but not as good as what I think. That's okay. So 179,000, we were under budget, which is 3.62%. The amount of the increase that we're doing for this year ended up being, because remember, we start down that, so we start where we left off last year, and then we increase it by however much we think that we're going to need this year. And so we only actually increased by 2.26% overall through everything, including our salaries, benefits, things like that. Those controlled costs, you know, like electricity, gas, things like that, I generally will do a 3% increase, cost of living increase or whatever. But by the time you put the actual numbers in there of salaries, because we know what our increase was, you know, when we settled last year, or we know how many pairs we have and what we're paying them, so we can estimate those actual numbers. It actually evens out to 2.26%. So when you look at this sheet over here, that's why you see that it's, the amount that we're trying to get to is actually less than what we had last year. So that's not a typo. Okay? That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions on that?
What were the fees for?
Had a few cleaning fees, and so
Or
yes,
I think there were some
Yeah.
like actual metal keys though.
Yes,
Some other
that's
things,
right.
yeah.
administrative fees. Yeah.
Any other questions on this? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent items? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, aye. Consent items are approved. Correspondence?
So we had a donation from Farm Credit here, because they gave us $1,000 to cover the balances. So that was really generous of them. And then Andrew asked me to follow up to see how many negative lunch balances do we have. And so I emailed Amy a little bit ago. What she said.
It was just a little over 300.
Yeah, about $302 right now is all we have. So that's really good to just have that extra cushion as well. And then thing that was a little bit hard for the lunch account was that we continued to pay everyone during the COVID, but they didn't bring in any money because we weren't serving lunches. So, but anyway, she was very excited about that, and she also asked me to share with you guys. I saw this on a website I was on, or a webinar today too. The president has extended the free lunch through the end of the school year now. Not just, it was through December, but now it's through June 21st, I believe. So she was really excited about that.
So while that's a great thing for our students and our community, it's not such a good thing for the school because then we don't get any more income. We don't get any money returned from the national school. As far as I know, because normally it's all based on a certain cents amount that you get back for each reduce or each free lunch. And so because they're all free, we probably will get some for the free, but I assume, I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be near to the extent that we need. So it may be that we'll be coming to you in the future to transfer some money from the general fund to the enterprise account, which is the lunch fund. And during the CARES Act or the COVID-19 Act, they put into place that gives us the ability to do that. Normally, we wouldn't be able to transfer from funds like that, but they did put in an allowance in here. It takes board action, and it's not something that we want to keep doing. So we'll keep an eye on it, but we may have to anticipate where we're going to end up and maybe just do a one-time transfer.
And how much is that approximately?
I don't know what it'll be. We spend about $2,500 a month in salary and benefits alone. That does not include food or product. So if I remember right, we got in September at about $6,000 in the account, and normally we have about 20,000. So we have about 12,000, and we're going to keep going. I do think that, like I said, we'll be getting some funds back in.
I can't believe that they won't reimburse us for what it.
Well, they would reimburse us for the normal people who would be the free and reduced, but I don't know how, I don't know the stipulations.
Amy says in her note here that she's, I'm still waiting on my consultant to answer some specific specific questions that she has.
Yeah,
Because this just came out pretty recently, so she hasn't even gotten the details yet of how it's gonna actually all unfold.
Yeah.
So,
so I feel like, you know, we're back for our normal, like our normal who would be free and reduced. But all those extra kids who would normally be paying, they're getting free now as well. So I would think that we would get some sort of a reimbursement back from them, but I don't look for it to be the full cost.
I'll tell you that.
But the fact that they opened it up, we can transfer money leaves me a little, they don't do that. This is the first time I've known them to do that, that we can transfer, they've actually opened it up that we can transfer to activity fund. We can have any enterprise fund account, which could be daycare, if we had a daycare that we were operating or something like that. There's several funds that we could transfer to from general fund for COVID reasons. We just don't normally open that up.
Okay, anybody have any questions, comments on it? Okay, we'll move on to the Learning Center. Got a copy of their September board minutes.
Yes, we have the September, we don't have the August. We were lagging a little bit. I'm struggling in getting minutes from their meetings from them. And I contacted Haley, and for whatever reason, she didn't have August minutes either. So she was trying to track them down, but at meeting time, she didn't have them.
Anybody have any comments on those? Okay, we'll move on to public forum. Anybody in the public have anything to share?
nope, I don't think so.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to business items. The first item under that, our building project update. Jamie, you kind of updated us, I guess, on the heating and cooling and that. Is anything else on the existing building project, I guess, and then we can talk about the next complex.
Yeah, so I talked to Nathan Van Mon today, so I think the lightning bolt light fixture finally came in. So I think that will get installed sometime next week, probably earlier in the week. And then I know that they're going to, I think, work to address and clean up a few other items while they're here on site, taking care of that. So we're still working to get the as-built drawings, like from Van Mon, one that we owe. And then I'm working with them to get some additional attic stock to turn over to the district. And then from that standpoint, we should be close to closing all of the contracts out. Once we get through this mechanical issue.
Where was that light at?
What's that?
The light, where was it?
Oh,
So that fixture will be recast.
The lightning bolt
At
outside.
lightning.
the North Main entrance. So, yeah, aside from that, I know that we're working through a few things with the flooring and the furniture and trying to coordinate that out. So, Dale met on site this morning, I think with Michael and kind of working on a few routine things. So there was some discussion about maybe adding wall packs in one wall. And I think I owe you yet a proposal for some casework in the nurse's station. So
Okay.
it is a handful of things. We're just kind of hanging out there now. So for the most part, we're just working to wrap up some things and hopefully we'll have a better understanding of unit ventilators after Monday pond is closed.
Okay.
That's probably the biggest thing on that project.
Okay.
There's help me out, Jamie, that monthly thing that we were doing, it was over, you get that every month, the bill, every month?
Oh, that little video thing,
Yeah,
like takes pictures.
Yeah.
I never can remember.
It's like multi-something.
Yeah,
Multa Vista.
So
So
we need,
are we going to get something from them?
yep, I need to follow up with that gentleman and request new information and or set up a schedule a meeting between either Michael and you, Julie, and them to get everything downloaded off their cloud, to access their cloud. If you full pan into that too, but yeah, I'll try to.
I just, we haven't gotten a bill now for a
Yeah,
month
there-
or two,
there's-
so I feel like they might.
Yeah, there's services done connected so that you can access the information. Or get it downloaded.
Well, we're not gonna need it, but at some point, we need to do another.
Well,
Is that true?
But it'll be very helpful, even, assessing things or looking at some
Okay.
things, that want something different, or you're trying to track something down.
Okay.
Because that will give you that'll give you a snapshot of what it looks like above the ceiling, so you're not having that. whole
Yes.
Ceiling.
Okay.
So. Any questions with regard to that? I think it looks great. I think people are getting a lot of enjoyment and value out of that. So that's good.
Space that we wouldn't have normally had in this COVID. because
Yeah.
We're eating everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna talk about subs a little bit when I move down. We know we're gonna get sub problems, and we really have not a lot of COVID sub problems, just regular subs. We can't fill them in the high school with everything digitally online. The teacher's able to go to Google Classroom, and we just have lots of kids in the comments, 2 classes at a time, or, something's wrong, we just don't have to fill the sub. Not that we don't try, but
Because we have the space now.
we have the space now, they can just, like an online learner, they're just doing English 12 from the comments. And if they're in their classroom, it's a little tougher to monitor. We still have the collaborative space. I walk by, Travis walks by, Dennis walks
Yeah.
by, Andrew walks
There's
by,
always,
Michael walks by.
yeah.
I mean, we just have eyeballs on them all the time, and they just kind of handle themselves really well.
Yeah, and the college kids, or the kids who are taking the college classes, they sit out there
They're
all the
always
time.
in that
There's
collaborative
always
space.
kids in that
The only
collaborative
problem,
space.
and it's not a problem, I just never know if a kid's on like an open period with seniors, if they want to be on a game. I mean, it's not a big deal, but I don't know if that kid's on open, if that kid's coming from, we've split the PE classes in half, that's been really good, but, so the weight room's so tight, so if we have 5 in weight speed, we take 12, and the other 12 go to the collaborative space, so PE's in there, if the subclass is in there, distance learning kids, we're starting to kind of, the high school kids have gravitated to that space, and the middle school kids have gravitated to that. Even though we didn't say that, I'd like to see maybe our high school kids start to go a little bit more to the other space. It just gets a little cramped there, but it's good. We eat in those spaces for high school lunch.
Yeah, I mean, there's kids in there all,
Yeah,
there's
all
not a
the
time when
time.
they're not.
It'll just take the place of the library. I mean, where we
Yeah.
were just, last year, we were on top of each other there, but even before, that was just a really busy.
Parking improved.
Yeah.
It's been great. I've noticed we've had more, we've opened up to the juniors. There's still a few spaces. It's not quite as bad. Yeah, I don't know. I think we got 2 pretty small high school classes, so that changed a little bit, but we've had, I mean, outside of having to have a kid take a flag off their car, I've not been out there. Yeah, so.
That was, that was one of the things that was one of the
Yeah.
Big things we wanted to address.
I think the parking has been huge. We've bought ourselves some spots there by how people are parking.
No news is good news. I mean, it's been quiet.
Absolutely.
Quiet about her.
We'll see what happens with the snowfall.
Yeah.
If we go up twice. But make a difference. So,
We have to put our piles of stuff in where.
Good. So then, Jamie, if you want to talk about, what was that, 2, 3 weeks ago, we met with you and kind of talked about a rec concept. The ratio data out there, kind of maybe use that as an opportunity to look that over and maybe make some changes to it before we rebuild.
Well, yeah, so, we had a conversation about, some kind of some design or doing some master planning, and trying to help the district forecast, maybe improvements that they want, or the district wants to address out of the athletic complex. Knowing full well that, yeah, the derecho impacted, your facility quite a bit. So we met, I brought Jeff Bowden, so we've got a design within story construction. It's somewhat limited, design or somewhat limited, in that we don't design, for public bid projects. We tend to design our own design build project. However, knowing what you want to do, the district and kind of the district, going to hire a designer right now might come back with a lot of, good, only effort in this and that, but maybe to a degree broader than what you might want looking at larger projects. So just in bringing story design in and bringing us in, we would tend to try to take a more, budget focused design, budget focused planning, effort. Moving forward, that this may be something that is accomplished over the course of 1 to 3 to 5 years, as opposed to one large project taking 5 or 10. Now that may change some as we continue the conversation, because I think there's been some focus or some interest, I think, on the district's part to maybe take advantage of some grants, say, sheltering or, weather type structures. So, we ended up putting a proposal together, to do some master planning to help the district understand, what needs and what desires might be for that type of facility or what it might be like. And then our goal was further some things along and kind of conceptually, and then put together, some estimates to support the different, phases or different structures we might consider. And then, put together kind of deliverable that the district could then market to the community from a fundraising aspect to start drawing in some funds and possibly couple that with parents' proceeds or some other, district, revenues. So we could look at, I'm not sure, have you shared that?
I did share it with them all.
So that's
Yeah.
proposed, for roughly 24,000, fully at not to exceed, not a lump sum proposal. So it would essentially, we would essentially work up to that. Now, if we went over, we build a district of 24,000. But essentially, what our end goal would be to provide the district a deliverable that you could market, as well as a cost estimate that would support that, so you would have confidence in knowing what each phase what phases might be worth and how you want to tackle some of those things. Now, we've also looked further into, so Michael and Rob provided us data from your facility out there as far as number of spectators or peak number of spectators and participants, and I think we came back with a 900 person figure. And so Jeff just started kind of looking at codes on kind of a storm shelter type facility and projected some costs. I think we were looking to accommodate 900 people and participants would what they require, I think, around a 5,000 shelter, just based upon FEMA requirement. They require so many square feet per person. So that at 5,000 square foot, it's around a $250 to $300 per square foot, which is what we've been seeing FEMA shelters built. They've got a lot of structural integrity. So it's not a simple structure. Just go out and construct.
construct, and I know we wrestled with that on the facility and ultimately kind of walked away from it. But at any rate, that was around, I think, 1.25 to 1.5, I think, budget is what we come up with. And so that's gonna, ultimately the district can really go out and just work with or solicit, you know, for a project that has a cost threshold of around $100,000. It's when you exceed that 139 to 140,000 that now you bid that. So you've got to hire an architect for the documents and advertise and solicit bids.
You go through a formal process.
Yeah, much like what we did. If you stay below that threshold, then like I said, you can just solicit from local contractors to perform that work. You don't have to go through the hiring architect, and hire a senior. So, come to us, the, local contractors, in Baxter, to construct those types of facilities. And I think you got more than capable contractors in this community and even in the locale that can safely erect those types of structures. Because when you get into larger, when you get into 1.25 and 1.7 million facility, we're a little bit less to help. We still help. So if a district chose to, hey, we're going to further this, building design, what we would do is we would essentially create bridging documents. So what we would do is we would engage more, and we would take a conceptual to maybe a schematic and even to a design development level. And so if you remember when we went through this, we kind of presented at different increments along the design. And so we would probably get it to about a 50%, they're about at the 2 level. And then we would essentially turn that deliverable over to the district, and then at that point you could choose to hire an FEH or a different designer of your choosing to finish the design and then and receive competitive bids. So we put that proposal. We want to help district get to where you want to get to. If that's developing, master planning, we're out there. We're more than willing to do that. If it's taking a concept and furthering that to try to help people get for funding. The problem is that I don't know this for a fact, but my experience with FEMA and with the federal government is that you almost have to get full design to bid before they will grant you the funding. And so, and it's not always guaranteed. There's been several times where I know that other companies have wanted that and have worked toward that, only to find that there were multiple others who for the same grant and the funding ran out. Project that you get any grant funding for, and you've invested a whole lot of dollars too. So, you've got questions, let me know. I'll try to answer as best that I can. Like I said, when we initially talked about this, it was trying to help you guys map it out. I know you've got dugouts out there that a storm. I know you've got a storage building that has a storm. You got a growing community, a growing district. So that's just going to continue to bring people in, which is going to increase your needs for that type of facility, whether it's restroom or concessions, whether it be storm sheltering in the event of something. So we want to be helpful. We also want to extend your dollars for this that you can, for this that we can, to provide you with best value to the payment.
One thing like Jamie and I have talked about quite a bit is that you kind of just need to decide if you, and actually John and I talked about it yesterday too, we need to decide if we want to pursue the FEMA shelter. If we do, I mean, I'm happy to work on the grant, but like Jamie said, it's not a guarantee. And FEMA pays 75% of the fee, so our part of it would be roughly $350,000. But for $350,000, we could also build some pretty good stuff on our own that's not FEMA approved, but it's still, like, if there's rain or lightning, the kids could go inside of it at a game, and it wouldn't necessarily be a storm shelter, but it would be a shelter. So, we kind of just need to decide the way we want to go, because if we're not gonna go with the FEMA stuff, I just need to let FEMA know, like, we're withdrawing all our applications and, thanks, but no thanks. And then we'll go, start looking with Jamie or whatever. We just need to talk through that. Because we can still, without the FEMA stuff, still have Jamie help us and still do that master planning and figure out, like, if the first phase is under 140,000, we can just have Jamie team do that, and then have phase two, as long as, isn't it like, if each phase is under 140, we could just work with you guys?
Each thing will fall under the threshold, and thresholds are set by the. So they've got they get things, they're vertical, so you can understand or get the information on the thresholds from the DOT website. But yeah, each would be considered a separate event. Now, I think you might get in trouble if each separate event probably was separated by 7 days or a week, But I mean, if you were to tackle something in the spring and tackle something in the fall, there's certainly some dissection of time where, hey, it was our plan to do these things. We can't control when people donate or when somebody passes away and endowment. So when we move on to do that. And we certainly, so when we talked about this, our plan was more so to try to spend time and understand what the needs were, to try to get something pulled together, to present something to you, early, late first quarter of 21, where then you could probably try to even target something, for back to your back to, when you have larger people coming back, this year was kind of hampered. You kind of lost out on any opportunity to showcase what you were doing. Next year, we have a bigger celebration. It creates opportunity for some fundraising for something to occur. And so maybe you don't do a project in 21, set yourself up for a project that occurs in 22, and then you have one maybe it's in 24, and you just get yourself into an every 2-year type of program. But I think, so the benefit of master planning is it at least puts out a longer range forecast. So what you want to do, or as you get funding, or as you get your bonds paid down, or got some extra saved dollars, interest rates are just right, you want to do something, then you can manage of that and do something rather than waiting, and then you got to, the opportunity strikes, but you're not prepared because you haven't set yourself up to orchestrate something.
So you just charge like an hour till that 24,000 or
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as our designers, so Jeff came down and we met, and we just keep track of that, and we just send him. So it would look a lot like this. We would just have our employees at the rate and submit that. I don't think you got it. I think it's just hourly. So yeah, and so I don't want you to feel like, you got to go. I mean, you can tell us to start. I know that Jeff, so Jeff was putting on so many hours, and then we had some hours out. And so I'll probably be the one doing the majority of the estimating, probably be the one doing the majority of designing and a lot of the meetings. So, and I don't think we would bring in any cost consultants. I think we would likely look at a lot of things just based upon the databases that we have, just to keep the costs low.
yeah. Because I guess like we kind of talked the other day, what I envision is just, you know, get like that master plan, and here's where the future concession area makes sense, and here's practice facility, you know, kind of that. I mean, we, in the past, but as a district, you know, Rob and coaches and that, they get around all these schools, and it's like, hey, that school has a concession area or whatever you want to call it. So then relay that information to the story, and it's like, hey, you know, XYZ school has really need, you know, go take a look at that and see if that's something that would fit, you know. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel type deal. I mean, is that kind of what,
Yeah, so.
along those lines, you'd be willing to work with
Yeah.
that?
Yep. Yep, so we would, you know, we would take direction. I think probably the biggest thing is just to try to start assessing the needs or the desires, and then just mapping, you know, just kind of looking spatially on that site. You know, and trying to help you and look, and probably looking at some things differently. You know, we kind of started to do some of that, maybe putting some fields around and doing some different things in there. You know, so it's just taking a fresh look. You know, when you're in it all the time, it's hard to step back differently, or asking some different questions, or why, or, you know, well, what if we did this, and what if, you know, or hey, this, you know, this building can't, you know, all of a sudden became available on, you know, on the north side of the street. What, you know, what would the possibilities of that look like, and how could that shoot on into this space, and what opportunity could that provide?
I like that fresh look that you provided.
So, I mean, you got, I think, you know, you got quite a bit of canvas up there to kind of do some different things. And part of, you know, with the growing district, and with, you know, you're gonna wanna, you know, and after this year, you know, you kind of want to capture, you know, opportunities, you know, to draw money in. So if that's adding some fencing or just dealing with circulation differently than you currently do, to make sure that you get the gate, you know, you get the full gate. You're not dealing with people that might be getting through or not, or just participating or spectating without having to pay for the gate. And the concessions, you know, if that's more centrally located, maybe that it helps to increase your sales, you know, so positioning that between visitor and home, maybe there's some opportunity there that you get more visitor sales. In your home, you're probably looking at your home, but it's just looking at some things differently. And, you know, if we can help out with that, or even, you know, recommending modifications to your existing facilities. You know, I know we talked about concessions, your lots that backstops your home side, and looking at doing some there, maybe with creation. You know, so, and, you know, and so we see a lot of different things. So work with a lot of different districts. We understand how a lot of different districts attack some things, and what's important to them. And, you know, and so just sharing that, or bringing that up, or hey, we're saw this, and this is how we utilize that. And, you know, something that would be interesting in doing, or going to see something. You know.
Do you have the, like I saw, we shared something from, that you and FEH had put together about our building, you know, sort of an advertisement thing. We shared it on our Facebook page and things like that. Do you have a directory of facilities that Jory has developed or constructed that would be like that we could go, a central location that we can go look at that, or no?
I'm sure that we do. I'm sure as part of our marketing,
Okay.
you know, when we're doing presentations, we probably get a lot of that data. So yeah, you know, I know just around here, you know, we've done a lot of the improvements at Bondurant. So we did that athletic stadium at Bondurant. I think we were involved in the data. I know we did some done in Norwalk. So, you know, we've done and engaged in, you know, we're doing one right now in Colorado. And so, you know,
I was just thinking if we had some, like, maybe examples of areas you would say, oh, we like this, or we like
Sure.
that. You know, I know Rob just tends to look at website, you know, schools' websites to see what the facilities look like.
And I get emails all the time from just random companies who are trying to, you know, hey, you're gonna design a new school or whatever, and they sent, like that sample I sent you guys the other day, it wasn't from Story or FEH, it was just some random company that had designed this facility in maybe Clear Lake, Mason City or something, and it was beautiful, but, just looking at it can give you more ideas, but I'm sure you guys have, like, if we saw an idea like, oh, we love how this thing in Ames, even if you weren't the ones who built it, you could figure out how to build it.
Yeah, so from storage facilities to restroom facilities, and facilities. So we've seen, not that we've seen anything or everything, but we've been around quite a bit. We steer you in a direction. And even as we're having, even as we're having master planning conversations, it's just, well, next year away from this or engaging in some of that planning effort to try to help. And and one of the things that we need to, we're not just looking for one thing to solve. And we're gonna come back, or Jeff's gonna come back with, 3 to 5 conferences and kind of work that down to the most realistic group of the team makes us the right direction to go.
When your master plan, say you got your, want to do a rec area, we want to do and bathroom, storm shelters, but we're only going to do the restrooms and storm shelters. Is that good? Is that plan going to be kind of precise enough to know, okay, lot lines out here this big, so we don't have to, 5 years from now, build this rec area? Everything's kind of set up.
Yeah, so we're not gonna take, we're not gonna go down that deep from a design aspect. But we would take a lot of it into account when we're putting together the cost estimate. So the master planning tends to revolve around a 30,000 foot, you're kind of up here, you're kind of floating up here. And then as you continue to work your way down the construction documents, you get closer to the ground.
Right, I just want to make sure, like, you say 5 years from now, we start building, oh man,
Yeah, so we're
not enough power out here.
Yeah, so, those needs, I'm not gonna say we're gonna be exactly that precise. But
Right.
we're probably, knowing, knowing if you wanna put a 10,000 square foot facility out there, we're gonna know that you're just gonna need certain infrastructure. And so that might drive, you or the developer, or even the community, because I'm anticipating that Bastion's kind of growing to the west. Maybe some to the northwest. I don't know, John, you would know better with.
Yeah, to the west, I would say, south of the rec complex right now. I mean, there's 30 acres left to develop, or 35 acres, so.
Yeah, but I mean, so if at some point, goes to more of a facility, right? And you start getting more buy-in from the community, corporate type, however it's going to be. I think it just creates opportunity. But yeah, as we're looking at that stuff, plopping at 10,000 square foot, it's likely going to require more stuff. Has some storm requirements, and so we'd have to understand, figure out if we'd have infrastructure out there to support that type of thing, and what it might take to do that. So we'd have to factor that all into this process.
You kind of alluded a little bit about the FEMA, and I guess I haven't really dealt with them, but when I worked for the USDA, I know they had a lot of like livestock facilities, they had grants or matching grants. To me, a lot of those times it was all said and done, all the requirements you had to follow on that. It would have been cheaper if you'd done it yourself and not met. And it would still serve the purpose, but there's so many other strings attached to a lot of those grants. I mean, is that a fair statement? You see with.
That's a very fair. So anytime you get federal funding, there are there's a lot more. Requirements, so, do this. So, yeah, it does escalate the cost. Does drive up the cost. I don't know to what percentage, but it does have an increased value. That's why you just, yeah, we don't always advocate for drawings in the law. Some trees it doesn't really impact, you know, like if you want to get a fire alarm grant for a fire, for the fire, building, you're already hiring a new contractor, so like the wage, their scale wage is likely going to be higher than what might be. But, you know, it's likely what that's going to do is have a local concept. That, for instance, you know, they're going to your concrete. And, you know, now they're going to have to inflate wages to meet the prevailing wage, you know, which is going to drive their cost up. So that's probably going to equate them out to maybe improve the contract, you know, scale. So it kind of eliminates an advantage for maybe some of your smaller merit-based type contractors. Doesn't impact so much the contractors because they come to be at that scale.
As far as the insurance money, does that have to be something constructed within a certain amount of time?
So, no. Well, I'm sure we can't hold on to it for 5 years, but the issue is that when they've paid us a certain amount of money already for a lot of it. I think we've done probably 175,000 right now. Maybe not quite that much. But it's less a depreciated value. But then once we actually build it, then we can submit that documentation and then they will give us the rest of it.
That's
I
not
haven't
sure,
talked
like
to him
within
about
2
anything.
years, that'd be something.
So I asked him, and he was really kind of vague. Remember when we were out there and I asked him, I said, do we have to have this done by the end of June 30? And he said, no, as long as you have in the plans that, you know, we basically have really open as long as we need. Now, the submittals of the claims, you know, we really are kind of needing to slow that down a little bit. We're trying to get that under control, you know, like the little stuff, sound
Some
systems.
the grill or
and-
something. Just the other day we found out the grill doesn't work, so we'd add that.
Well, we couldn't have that because they threw it away.
Oh.
So, yeah. So we have no proof of it. So, you know, things like that. Mhm.
So my sense is that if you replace the structure, they'll probably fully fund.
And it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be exactly
Right
either like
now-
what was blown down.
Right now,
think
until you
Right
get
now,
to
it's
that-
just a pie in the sky. We have to show some sort of documentation.
So like with this master plan commitment,
I think so.
It shows that it's gonna show a phased approach to getting the facility back. to
Yeah.
level.
and I think we can make it better than it was, obviously, like they'll pay us for what we lost, but we can use that then to apply to this new facility, we can make it much better and, you know, more meeting our needs now.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
I think if we have to replace
Yeah,
bathrooms and dugouts and things like that, and that might take care of really a majority of the insurance money that we're sitting on right now.
yeah.
Fencing, yeah.
I've had some strong, conversations with, boosters, and you probably have already too, about their, you know, wanting to, they, you know, and it's not just like have a group of people go to the commons and everybody has all these ideas and nobody runs with it. You know, this seems like valid, you know, people really want to participate, different than before.
Right,
So, I don't know, I was pleased to hear that
Yeah.
too.
Like I talked to Michael the other day, I mean, we have to, when we had a meeting a year, 18 months ago, Rob, you headed that up, I mean, we kind of said that it's not gonna be a school-led project. It needs to be community, and I mean, the school participates. We're not gonna be the main driver behind it. I guess I still kind of see that. I mean, it's our rec complex out there, so I guess I could see us participating in the planning process. But I think we need to have community members, rec or whatever, yeah, and be involved in like, you know, if we hire you and you come back with 3 sets that kind of different, I mean, we might need to have a couple of those people involved in that. You know, it's hard to have a group of 50 in there because everybody, I mean, we kind of ran into that with the building committee. Even 20 people is almost too many, but we do need to have outside the school that are going to be involved in that process. Maybe one or two school board members. You know, like Michael, I don't have any at school anymore, but you know, Corey and Deb and Kim do. So you know, maybe one of those board members would be involved in the project. The rest of us. So.
I don't know, I just felt like there was stronger interest than there was a year for that meeting was.
And now there's some urgency and a little bit of money, seed money to get it rolling.
Yeah.
So I think people, if we could get a plan and people could see that this is this thing, it's not just this pie in the sky idea, there's an actual plan. I think that could help with our fundraising. Then we have, the bash, if we get have that out there and, the boosters could run with that. And, yeah, I agree.
So as a board, do we want to make a decision tonight on Story's proposal? Do we want to wait until next meeting and get time to think about it, or not? I'm open to discussion right now.
What do you think, Mark?
Well, I definitely think that obviously there's things you need that have to be done.
Yeah, which we kind of talked in that meeting the other day. I mean, like the press box for the baseball field and softball field. The foundations there, we're probably going to rebuild more or less what was there. Probably that school, get the foundation there, rebuild that. I guess to me, it's kind of that next step is, is it going to, do we want to look at a new concession bathroom? To me, replacing what was lost is given. That needs, and then the next step is what project do we want that? I mean, and probably a concession bathroom area isn't going to be as big a bite as a 10,000 or 1,000 square foot practice facility. So.
But we need to start the plan, decide we're gonna do it in
right.
increments.
So we don't piecemeal it.
And we at least get the plan made.
Yeah, I don't wanna get the deal or build a storage shed. Well, we could probably put some bathrooms on the side of that thing,
Right.
and it just comes into a big mess and nothing, right. It's not appealing to the community.
It sounds like now's the time.
Kim, do you want to add anything? Kind of forget you're over there.
No, I just had one question. Are we still looking at pursuing something with the FEMA grant, or is that kind of off the table now? I was kind of getting the sense that was not really maybe desirable. I just wondered if there's a timing that we need to be aligning with on that.
I don't think we've formally made that decision yet as a board, but I guess I plan to make that decision tonight, so we can give Michael some direction if she needs to keep pursuing it or not. So.
Well, it kind of sounds like that is probably not the right. Well, I would say probably not with, but I'm sure there are probably other grants out there where it's just.
you can still build a parking space in.
Right.
You know, so if you decided in, 5 to 7 years to, pull the trigger on doing, or at least get the initial phase, so you want to do directed the show, and then you just kind of left it a little bit loose on the inside, and then a couple years after that, and finish some things out on the interior, where you just moving. I mean, you could easily put a hardened area, whether it consists of locker rooms or whether it consists of restrooms within that space that's built out of masonry, and then you end up putting a precast lid on it. That would be a hardened area. That I'm not going to say it's going to meet FEMA standards, but most generally it can take care of, a higher wind, a 70-mile-an-hour wind event, which is typically what we see in the state. We don't, unless it's a tornado, we don't deal with 140-mile-an-hour winds on a regular basis like we saw this past summer.
And that's, are we required to have a hardened shelter out there, or?
I don't know if you would necessarily be required to have a hardened space up there.
Because we don't now, right? It's not now.
Yeah. I don't
Unless
know.
we were grandfathered in, but
Yeah.
that hasn't been too long.
But, I suppose you could kind of consider the lower level, maybe press box, masonry construction as kind of that hardened, somewhat hardened area, although it's not gonna, it's not gonna accommodate a large crowd. But,
Well, we do run into weather issues and,
Then was there like a lightning?
Mhm.
and-
Parents can go to their cars and whatnot, but.
but the players
Yeah,
and
where those
that's,
go.
yeah.
Or track meets.
Yeah, I mean, I've been out there multiple times where there's been weather and there's nowhere to go but your car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think you could certainly build some of that into that structure. You wouldn't necessarily have to do it.
And we could still look for grants. I mean, I know
Oh,
there's
you-
like that.
Yeah, I mean, I
Tornadoes
just Googled it,
grant
there's
and-
all kinds that are popping up.
Especially community school.
Mhm.
doing-
Kind of partnership
Yeah.
grant type things.
I don't want to sound like a broken record, because I'm gonna say a word that we're all going to just, it's been, that wrestling thing. So we're in the middle of looking out a way to use this gym for wrestling, because that's what we thought, we still think is best with COVID, keeping them, moving that furniture every night back in and out is probably not gonna be a real good thing for that middle school college. So we cannot wrestle in the lunchroom. So we're gonna get it done this time, just like last year, they were up at the community building a lot. We didn't reach out to the community building this time, we just said, but in another year, they're gonna have to rent a space, build a space, we'll decide wrestling is not going to be in our future and go somewhere else. I mean, there's some excitement about wrestling now, I had a lot of people.
How many are out?
asking. We're gonna end up with about 10 at the high school, maybe that much again at the middle school, but obviously still pretty good numbers in elementary, but we have some vocal, strong, wanna put the time and effort in people, and besides just Josh, I mean, it's now trickled out there. We're hosting 3 or 4 meets this year, which that's great too, but, we're gonna do one in each gym, I think, it's just, it's a lot. Last year, at least they had the kick, as I was looking at Lori's notes, the community building was always a fallback for those nights that you just can't get it in. Now we're telling teams they can't practice, so we've done the schedule all the way out, 4 or 5 pretty ugly, but there's another quite a few that it's just gonna be tough. We're actually really want concerts this winter, or I don't know how we could get that, because they usually need a couple days on secondary, and a couple days on elementary winter concert. That would have just been not good. So just want to make sure it's out on people's vision, what we're doing. And I don't know if things have came open to rent facility. I mean, we talked about throw that over and over again pretty soon. I mean, we can't be sitting here in August again going, well, here comes wrestling again. I think it's going to be tough.
Okay, so what's everybody think of the FEMA, make that decision, move on it?
That kind of sounds like it would work out
Okay,
for me.
Yeah.
Bigger headache.
right. I don't know if you necessarily have to vote on that. Kind of consensus that we pursue that, so. Okay. And then, back to the story. Do you want to make that decision tonight or want to think about it, or we can use some of our insurance money to pay towards that, to those services. So,
I think that sounds great.
okay, is that a motion then?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We have a second to Lloyd Story Construction to kind of do our master plan at the sports complex, not to exceed $24,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Get to work.
You're never gonna get rid of it.
It's like a bad pain.
I'll communicate with Jeff and we'll look at schedules and might be try to get something on the calendar to start moving. We'll probably try to initiate an initial meeting again, so, so maybe one of the things, if you're looking at getting a committee, if you're looking at points in community, and that might be an opportunity to try to identify who that is. I think we'll continue at this point to communicate with Michael and not knowing who from the board is going to rise up and kind of take that lead. So maybe that's something that you guys can figure out through John is the board representation. I know that you and Colette were actively involved with the addition. So that's the board of Kim, I think we can engage in it, taking one or the other. Doesn't matter. I think at this point we'll just communicate with Michael and or Julie and try to work to advance some things. So we'll probably try to schedule something maybe here before Thanksgiving. And then I'm guessing that we probably will just kind of stir on some stuff or what we learn, and maybe over the rest of December and then kind of regroup maybe in January and kind of stir some things forward. So if Jeff has a different idea, we'll get that to you.
And we'll see you on Monday. I'll be able to talk to you for Monday.
Yep, exactly.
So if you were thinking like a committee size, for how many is like a good number to have on?
Probably, I would probably keep it under 10 or around 8. But it's just, we've all witnessed that the larger the community is, it becomes, the less action, spend more time kind of working back and forth on things. So,
Okay.
I think if you're somewhere in the 8 to 10 range, a couple of those community members, because you're probably going to want to continue, athletics, involved. So.
I've had 3 community members who talked to me in the last month, pushing that, let's do this right, let's, all this. I said, talk to you 5. And then I said, great, would you be willing to take a leadership role in this? And he said, yes. So
Oh, good. Well, we can talk.
Yeah. I think everybody that was.
Well, I mean, like on the board.
Active, one is an active booster.
It's not just a bad thing if you have 10. I just think maybe at some point you might want to
Have it.
put it down.
Well, I feel like it'd probably end up being 10 by the time, like, if I have to show up a couple of times for financial reasons, or Rob needs to show up every time, by the time people are in and out, we're probably gonna get to 10 anyway, pretty easily.
Couple board members.
Yeah,
We probably want to stay
under 3.
under, 2, so. 1 or 2. And that's something.
Right. Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right.
See you.
Good to see
See you
you.
Monday. Yep.
Jason just texted me and said, any chance we can move the online kid stuff up after the principal report? It's really hard to hear. I don't know if it's us talking or if it's the Zoom or what, but encourage them to follow along. So when we, I don't know if we have that on the thing or the.
No.
the grade
Just
school
leave
they're
it
on.
up.
Okay,
Yep, just
okay.
fine. Move it on up.
Move on to principal board. Rob, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna be super fast. I mean, that was a lengthy discussion. Really, actually, when I was putting my notes together, I just think, and I've said this to Michael and Jason, and I've said over and over again, where we're at in this situation, if we have teachers in the room teaching hard, that's about, that's a win right there. We don't have a lot of initiatives going on. We've put a lot on our teachers. We've tried to give them some time, grace. I think they're teaching really hard, but I don't have all those shiny things to come tell you, because right now we're just trying to get in the classroom and get something done and do the best we can with relationships. Parent-teacher conferences are coming up. We decided those are going to be virtual. So dates on the calendar with Greg and then Jason on 10-minute times, but we'll have them. I don't know what kind of turnout we'll have, but we're going to do it. I think it's the right thing to do, especially this fall with everything else we put in place and saying no into the building and no outside. And I know there may be some people that complain about not being face to face, and if they truly wanted to set something up or having problems, I'm sure we can.
Will you go like the same days that you normally would, and you're trying to fit them all in? Is that
Yeah,
what you're
I think now, because of this, we wouldn't have done a Saturday, but it's already on. And the thing is, teachers don't have to do that Saturday. That was always a choice, doing 2 of those 3 days. I have a feeling we'll probably all do just that Tuesday, Thursday, since it's virtual, in their 10-minute.
I see other schools are doing that too, and I've seen several parents say, sign me up every year, whether it's a COVID year or not,
Yeah,
that they liked it that
I
way.
do
They didn't have to
think
get a sitter, they didn't have to, yeah.
We have a lot of people, I think. I was surprised. We did the DC New York meeting last night, and I was worried. If you have it in person, I think you get more people. I think most people are just burnt out on Zoom, but I actually think we probably had more because it's just easier. It's just not my favorite thing to do, but it's super user-friendly, and be able to just pencil in 30 minutes instead of the 50 with the drive back and forth, getting kids in the car. So,
Yep.
Fall sports have, they went really, really well, especially if you're just looking at, participation, enjoyment, no headaches, no problems with COVID really. And we've been very successful. Our middle school football team won every year. They only lost 1 game. Middle school volleyball, especially the A team, was super competitive. I'm sure it was over 500. I don't have a record, but I know they won more than they lost. Volleyball finished second in the conference. Cross country, girls finished second in the conference. They're running districts tomorrow. Ellie Toon individually has been phenomenal. That's a new student for our district, and she's won some meets and medals all over the place. Next month, I'll let you know how the state goes. High school football won our first bowl playoff game ever last week. We have a big one Friday. It feels different. If you've been to the games and even everywhere, it just feels different. But I can tell you, our kids are still competing and engaged, and that's really what it's about. It's awesome to have big crowds and the pep rallies, but let's just be happy we're doing what we're doing and having the success we are. Winter COVID guidance just came out on wrestling and basketball. Doesn't look much different. Some more sports specific stuff, but I just want maybe to start thinking, and we're gonna run out of time, but next month would still be early enough. There's a lot of schools that are going to mask mandates. I wouldn't say the majority, but I would say enough that I go, wow. The problem with making this is mask mandate in the gym everywhere we are is mask mandate. It's just that policing it is just, but there's a school, you will see if you're traveling this year in winter sports, we will be playing schools that will be a mask mandate the entire time. At least that's what I'm seeing from ADs and principals. So
For the athletes.
For the fans.
Just fans.
Fans, there are recommendations from the union about what the athletes that they not came, and there's some pushback about that. Why it's important to the union. Why are you just not saying it's a mask mandate? It'd be easier on us to say, they're talking about kids on the bench being masked up during basketball and wrestling and some of that. But again, it's not mandated by the union. That's their strong suggestion. So
What's your recommendation? Will you go with a mask mandate
I
for fans?
I think it worked pretty good for us being a really smaller school. Our numbers weren't bad. It was a little, our kids did a great job this fall in the student section. One half and I stood down there a lot. If they weren't masked, we corrected it. If they wouldn't be masked, we would ask them to leave. If you want to have a student section, there are schools that don't have student sections. We do, and we did a great job. I think our crowd was okay. It was off and on. It's just depending on the person, but it just seemed like every school that came in, they were not masked up. Not coming into the building, but the minute they got to their,
Yeah,
to their,
and there are a few schools to the south and to the southeast of us that had no mask mandate in their schools and have had to shut down their whole high school because of it. I mean, I feel like
I feel like maybe us right now, because it went so well, we're just kind of in that safe zone that everything will probably go well. But I mean, I see enough of all these places that are either not maybe shutting it all down, but lose. I mean, Iowa Valley had a major player that didn't play. They had a homecoming dance and that we didn't. I mean, there's things that I think we're doing really well that are keeping our kids out there and playing. I'm not recommending it's a mask mandate because I'm going to stand there and we're going to have site managers. There's 49 winter events with Haas coaching. So we're getting a lot of site managers. Well, I don't expect Brett Slide or Jalen Sickles to stand there at a junior high game and fight that fight. I mean, I don't want to fight that fight, but I sure don't want somebody who's taking some hours for me to do that. So I just wanted to be aware of that. It just came out. Yeah, so the last thing I just want to tell you, at least where we're at, I think Travis has done a fantastic job. We sent out a survey about 3 weeks ago with kids that we always do with our connectedness. We felt that was really important to do again, but we added a lot of COVID stuff. Are you nervous about COVID? Are you nervous about our guidelines? Do you think we're doing too much? Do you think we're not doing enough? And we put all this together and we came up with about 20, 25, 60 12th graders that we indicated as yellow or red, had some emotional issues, weren't connected, don't feel safe with COVID, multiple things. It was just a way that just we did it ourselves and found out these kids. And we met with every one of those kids, whether it was Dennis, Travis, or I one-on-one, and just talked through them. Some of those after conversation, we felt better. Some we got them a mentor, a student, or a teacher. Some we have on Travis's radar huge that he's going to start meeting with. But
any surprises?
Yeah. I mean, just some kids that I think every kid that fell in under that bar, it was kids that you wouldn't think of. And I think they're just frustrated, maybe juniors and seniors, and woe is me, and it didn't go well. We didn't get to have homecoming the way we wanted. And they were just pretty negative on their survey. And that's okay. We still brought them in. At least they had to tell us, that's just how I'm feeling. Well, that's normal. I get it, but it's not a huge concern for us moving on there. We have a lot of new kids that were on that list that we're just trying to build relationships, and that's been so much harder than a normal year. We're up a lot of kids, I think 20, 25 kids. It seems like we have a lot of them upstairs, especially middle school. And it's just, luckily I can talk to Kristen a lot, who deals with that middle school team, and I don't know, and she'll feed, hey, this kid seems so nice, but doesn't really connect to kids. So Travis has done a really good job. I'm trying to help him out a little bit, and Dennis, it's been really nice to have the three of us in the office together, especially at this time. I think once we get past this, it'll really go well because we're kind of all in our, not always meeting together, but it's nice to be able to be next to each other and know what the other one's doing, especially around our kids. So I just want to know we're addressing it. There's no magic bullet, but I think communication and understanding and who those kids are pretty important. So again, Travis is doing a really good job on that. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Rob.
All right.
Jason?
Jason, do you want to?
Yeah, I have can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I have a pretty small list. Like Rob said, we're wrapping up our trimester, so online conferences are coming up pretty quickly here. We're getting our Sign Up Genius out to parents, so that'll be a new experience for us, and I'm curious how that plays out as far as attendance goes. But we sign up for our conferences both semesters anyway, so I'm hoping that parents are open to visiting virtually. We will be sending out, I guess, report cards, student portfolios, those types of things the week before the conferences, so that parents are kind of prepared and they have stuff that maybe they can come up with some questions or specific things they want to talk to our teachers about. So, but yeah, so we're, teachers are open to that, and they're you know, trying to make that work. So I hope we have good attendance that way. It'll be pretty quiet in the building those 2 nights, I think, with everybody in their rooms just talking on computers. So let's see. Obviously, it was unpreparedness, I guess, for this kind of weather so soon, and our COVID plans with getting kids out of the cafeteria and out to recess. You know, what about coats and snow boots and snow pants and all those things? We weren't really quite prepared for that. So that first snow, there were a lot of wet feet, I think, when we came back in. We stayed on the concrete the best we could, but it just kept snowing and kept snowing. So yeah, the next day, all the kids were eating. Apparently, I wasn't in there for lunch, but Zach said it was quite entertaining to see a bunch of kindergartners eating in their snow pants and coats. They just were all like puffed up and, you know, arms sticking out like the movies, you know, trying to eat and do the best they can like that. So kind of entertaining. But, you know, along the lines a little bit with what Rob was saying, I think it's important that everybody knows that our ESSA work, on some level from the state, is on the back burner a little bit in their minds. We have a few requirements as far as a monthly meeting with a Department of Ed representative, and then Terry from the AEA comes to all our BLT meetings. But our BLT has been meeting. I think it's important to our staff that we continue this work. We knew it was important. We know it got interrupted. Trying to get ourselves back on track with it is the important piece. But how much of it can really fit in when we're trying to really accelerate the learning of our students this year, because they have holes from last year that we have to kind of build in as well as we teach the new grade level coursework. So we're doing the best we can there. We're trying to find out, you know, what things really need to be a part of what we do, because they were defining us. They were who we were becoming as a school. And so I really am proud of our teachers for trying to, you know, continue that work, trying to make it fit, looking at the data of our students and really trying to build a plan for them. You know, the one thing that ESSA did was they sent us our new monies. And so this past week, Julie and Michael saw me in a panic trying to fill out a budget for some monies that were sent down. So, you know, we're talking a lot about reading. We're talking a lot about reading instruction. And just this week, we're putting a team of teachers together to, Josh is going to work really hard with that group in his role to kind of start looking at a reading resource and identify the needs of our students, identify the needs of our teachers, and really kind of, you know, throughout the rest of this year, basically take a look at reading resources and see what's going to be beneficial for our school. So, you know, we're trying to, it is different this year than any other year, right? Everybody said it would be, and it is different. Most days it feels like a day, right? But there are those underlying things that are happening that make it not so much that. So there's a lot of good teaching going on, a lot of great relationship building going on with students. And, you know, just really, really proud of the work that the kids are doing and the teachers are doing to make this year feel like a good quality academic year. So that's about all I have.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, we'll move on to the return to person learning. So Michael, do you want to talk about that, please?
Yeah. So we've had some parents reach out and really just say, we understand the policy was till the end of the semester, but we know that we made a mistake. And it's not all of them, it is just a handful, but they want to bring their kids back. And right now our policy says you can't come back until the end of the semester. But there are a lot of districts I've talked to that are amending their plans just because, you know, things they thought were going to happen haven't. And so they've got a lot of people who thought, oh, this was going to be a lot worse than it actually is. And so they're letting people come back, or they were going to be 100% virtual, or they were going to be all hybrid. And now they've decided to go back to just in-person learning. And so it wouldn't be unprecedented for us to revisit this policy. And so, I mean, a logical break, if we were going to amend it, would be coming up soon. The elementary ends the trimester. Jason, do you have off the top of your head when the trimester ends? I don't remember.
It would be so conferences are the 10th and the 12th, so it'd be the week before is when about that time is when our trimester ends officially. So grades, report cards would be done and stuff then. So what's that, November 2nd, I guess?
Okay,
3rd?
something like that. And then same with Rob, it's similar time frame with the end of the quarter. And so I reached out to the BEA just to see, to ask them, what do the teachers think about this? And so Deanne sent out a survey and she had 14 reply back. I don't know how many are in it or anything, but 14 of the teachers replied back. So I put the stats in there. 11 of the 14 said yes, bring them back. 2 of the 14 said no, wait till the end of the semester. And 1 was torn. It was kind of cute reading that person's thing. They were like, I can understand this, but I can understand that. Kind of like every decision all of us make. They just couldn't commit. So that's where our teachers that responded to the email or to the survey anyway, that's how they felt about it. So I don't know how the board feels about it. The one thing I thought was, when we first implemented this, we didn't want parents saying they wanted to do it and we were going to pay for all these online subscriptions and then have parents like a week later jump back and say, no, we don't do that anymore. Well, at this point, we have, it's a sunk cost. We've already spent the money. It's through the end of it's a year-long subscription. So whether we let them come back now or we let them come back at the end of the semester, we've already paid for it for the whole year. It's a year long, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I thought you were looking at me like crazy
No.
eyes. Like, no, it's not. I'm pretty sure it is a year-long subscription. So we've already paid that. So it's really just a matter of, do we want to amend our policy and let them come back? And I don't think we have a lot that will still stay out because we made the choice. We've got a handful in Jason's building. I don't know how many you can speak about. I don't know how many secondary rooms we have. I've had a couple people begging, like, is there any way, this is not working. My kids aren't learning. Just they are begging to come back. But again, we set a policy, and so we just have to decide what we want to do, and then, I guess amend it or not amend it.
Yeah, we can amend it and then we can forego the second reading due to the nature of the policy.
My main concern was the teachers, how did they feel about it? Because they're the ones that are gonna have the students come in at this point and not have been there for the full time for instruction, so.
Yeah, my staff would not be 12 forward. I would be shocked if that wasn't too close. I'm torn myself. It looks different at the secondary. I've been facing, wanted it pretty early and I don't know either. One is his teachers are working with those kids. Our teachers work with us on that's what they're doing. And Michael's right. If all of a sudden it was 1 or 2 kids, it would make no difference. But if we brought back 23 kids right now, that would be a struggle because of where they're at in that about reading and math. It's truly about biology. It's about algebra too. Not sure, but I do know we have kids that come from other districts in, and then we just have to make that work. So yeah, we would not be 100%. It wouldn't be that strong with the secondary because I've already, Jason and I had a conversation about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, to put the feelers out, and there were lots of, I don't know how that looks, and I thought the board made a policy and we knew it would be the semester and we could read. So yeah, there's reasons to bring them back. So I probably have the most negative for the administrators, I'm sure. I can sure live with it, and hopefully it's just, I had to tell one parent the board policy and they want to fight, and I put them their way. The other parent was talking about a kid coming back, just trying to explain the problem. I completely understand. Why did you decide to stay home in the first place? Well, this and that. And there may be reasons for them to come back, but you can do that to every single kid. Well, is that a good thing for them to come back or not? Not to, just to study from home. That was a personal choice. It would be a really tough decision. But K6 is K5 is probably will take every kid that's at home is falling behind, so we need to.
Yeah,
At the school level.
Elementary versus.
The problem you're gonna have is there's about 2 or 3 pretty dynamic elementary kids that have a secondary kid that wants to come. It's kind of a, they know more than
And I'm reading the comments, and from what I can tell from the people that the names are not on there. It's just tenants. A lot of it is about grading. Like, how would we count their grade? Like, they're going place than the other kids, which I totally get. I mean, I was a high school teacher, but that's really no different than a kid that moves here from somewhere else. Like, we still find a way to teach them, and we just meet them where they are and go from there. So, like, but I totally get where these teachers, these handful of teachers, are coming from. We just have to figure out how would the grading look.
How would it affect the kids that are already in class here, bringing?
Then two came back, like I said.
Yeah,
I would,
obviously.
if we have, I don't know what we have, 15, 18, and they're so unsuccessful, but it's the same kids who bring them back. And I don't think some of them, that would cause a major disruption to the learning environment. But those aren't the ones, the two that I know, one would put stress on the special ed department, and the other just really roll that, you know, I know teachers would struggle with that person, but they would have struggled at the beginning of the year, and they kind of just, I'll talk to 2 or 3 more. I don't think we would even get a high school kid back, to be honest with you, but we would get some middle school kids back.
And if we wait until the end of the semester, that kid Rob's talking about is gonna be lower than they are right now.
If this was it and they came back, I would probably just look at the middle school, it's not credit. So it doesn't really matter right now. And then we'll give them a pass for everything. It makes 0 difference in middle school. It doesn't even pass fail. They have to fail 4 subjects to even have a conversation about retaining. So if it's about grading, I can just alleviate that until semester. You try to get them set up as best you can and just pass them and don't worry about the grade. Now, I don't know how the parent would feel about that.
What's the other comments besides grading?
Let's see. I say let them come back. You want just the kind of more negative ones?
Yeah, like,
I have concerns about this at the secondary level. The courses are semester by semester, and the curriculum is very different from ours. I'm concerned if we allow the students at secondary level to return early, they've missed out on some curriculum. I don't know how the grading will work. Okay, so that's, you know, like just logistically, how would this work?
I guess, yeah, so if they came back in January, would we still be having the same conversation about how the grading would work?
You know, I think the grading, I can see 2 core high school teachers that are pretty concerned right now. I didn't tell them, I don't think we're having any high school, but if it was up, we would allow anyone to come back in, and it's like Michael said, we just have to figure that out the best we can.
So if they came back, say, start the second semester,
Everybody was fresh, but yeah, at Christmas.
I mean, they still might be.
They'd be behind, but now all of a sudden they're in the PSS program, we're working with them and working to get them the standards caught up.
Have you had a conversation with Dennis about it?
Yep.
What has he thought about it?
He's about where I'm at, because he's the one working with them and torn, because, I mean, I just made 4 phone calls home. We've got about 5 kids, 4 families that are just not, I mean, they put in an excellent process. So, I mean, they're doing nothing. But the other ones are being very successful enough. I don't know who would have, I mean, this all came about, I think Jason has 2 or 3 that really want to come back in.
I've had, like, emails from a couple different parents begging, I mean, just please, can my kid come back? We know this was not the right decision. Please, can my kid come back? So.
I think it's probably pretty important to understand that the parents that I've talked to, I mean, it's just what Michael said, right? They made a decision for whatever the reason is. And they realize now that their students, I'll talk just about elementary kids, that their students need to be in school, that the education that they're getting, either through Edgenuity or through what the parents are providing them, isn't benefiting them in any way. And when they call me and I say to them, well, the decision was made and you knew that decision, they say, yeah, we know that decision. But now, you know, I've been told straight to my, you know, over the phone that I feel like you're punishing my kid because of my mistake, my choice as an adult, which wasn't the right one for my kid. And they didn't mean that harshly, but they know that their kid needs to be in school. And we at the elementary level know that their kids need to be in school. I mean, it is what's best for kids. It's not, I mean, I was just looking the other day and I found 3 kids that haven't logged a single minute on Edgenuity in the last 2 weeks. And so that's not benefiting those kids in any way. How do I hold them accountable for that? You know, I mean, what is the attendance policy? Okay, great. My kid, you know, I mean, that's a frustration. And so if they want their student back, we're going to, at our level, we want to get them back. That would be my recommendation, that we get them back.
I guess that was my thought, Jason, is like, you don't want to punish the student because their parents made a poor decision. I mean, it's not the student's fault. You know, obviously they're not doing much at home, being pushed at home or held accountable.
Yeah, and I mean.
Yeah. I don't think that, you know, with our kids, as far as grades and stuff, obviously that's not the bigger concern, but it is, you know, they are going to come in behind or at a different place or whatever than the kids in the class. But, you know, that's for our teachers to work through. And I think our teachers feel pretty strongly that they can, you know, our level, I hope at least, everyone, I asked the BLT the other day, they were all in support of it. So, at least at that meeting they were. So hopefully that everybody feels the same.
More comment. This person works with the online. I know that many have struggled with independence of online learning, especially if there's a parent in the house during the day. Although it will not be easy for purposes of grading and being at the same point in the curriculum, I would still be in favor of being flexible and allowing students to return that quarter trimester. I think we have to do what's best for each student in their education. So that seems secondary because of the grading, but I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter who said it, but yeah, it's just 2 different worlds. Like the secondary, it really is about, well, what if they miss this whole, 5 chapters we went over, and like there's going to be this gap in their learning, but they learned this other stuff. And then what do we do if we were talking about the Civil War and they learned the Civil War in August? I don't know. We'll just have to figure it out. But
I hope that's not a secondary first, because we don't have quarters or trimesters. We're only on semesters.
Oh yeah, I don't know who it is.
Yeah. I mean, I feel really bad for the listening kids in the classroom, but I mean, like Corey said, especially the littles, it's not, I mean, we have to show some grace to the parents too. I mean, they were making decisions based on crazy times.
Right.
And finding out it's maybe not the best decision. I mean, I don't know, I feel bad for the teachers, but gosh, we've got little kids out there that aren't learning or logging on at all. That's a huge problem.
Yeah, but they're not the ones that are trying to get back.
Oh,
Well, they could be.
Well, the parent maybe, if that's.
If they know there's an option, and maybe we could have really reach out, Jason could reach out and say, listen, you are not logging in. The board has changed their policy. You want to just have your kids back to school and we will take it from here. I don't know, but I want to say this one other comment. One of the people said, put your teachers meeting together. We do not want to punish the students for their choice their parents made. However, we don't believe it would be beneficial to the students to have we have in person now for online to come back before the semester. We feel we're having online students come back for second semester would give us time to prep. So they go on, but so we just need to, if we're going to do it, we need to give them a heads up tomorrow, hey, just so you know, these kids are coming back in a couple weeks. So, and again, with us, Rob and Jason and I, we're going to show grace to these teachers. We understand they are still already trying to just keep their head above water, and then we do this on them. We'll be there to support them as much as we can. And we all are just trying to get through this year. So,
do you have any knowledge of especially in the elementary level, one teacher is getting, a handful and
yeah, I don't. Jason, do you know if we offered them to come back, would one teacher? I think it was mostly just 1 or 2 in every grade level. But
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple kids per grade level that are online, but really, I mean, I have right now I'm probably, here's what I think. I think if the board decides that we're going to allow this, we're going to open that up, and I will still have parents that are going to say, no, we're staying online. I mean, that'll be their choice, and so be it. But I think there are 5 families that have reached out to me that want to bring their kids back, that probably represent 5 families, probably 8 or 9 kids. And a couple of them also have siblings, like Rob mentioned, that are in secondary level of somehow.
So you think it's best to bring them back, Jason?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What?
Your thought is to bring it back early is the best thing to do.
Yeah, I would like to at least offer to have them come back, and those that want to come back now for sure can, you know, and take advantage of that. So I guess I hear their pleas, you know, the ones that are asking. I understand that they do feel that what's happening isn't best for their children. And I think that our teachers see that as well. I mean, they see that it isn't working out very well. But there will be others that won't want to come back still.
So if we offer this, which I think is a good plan, I think that's in the best interest of kids, to be in classrooms with their teachers who are, I think that's the best option. But how would we communicate this to just reach out to all of those parents who are online right now and let them know if it's available starting by a certain date?
Yeah, that would be my thoughts, at least, that we would send it out to all the families, whether it's elementary families, all the families, whatever the decision's made, saying that this is an option for them. And for me personally, I would make that date, you know, that first week in November. We would just give them that date that this is the date they can come back, and to let us know if they're planning that, and we'll communicate with the teachers and go from there.
We want to make it like a one-time, I don't know what you call it, a one-time deal, but if they're going to come back, we have to do it November 2nd or whatever, so we don't have people saying, well, December 1st, but I want my kid to come back now or whatever.
Yeah, it would be November 2nd. This is your chance. That's what I think, at least, you know, for they want to get them back sooner than the semester date. You know, this is your time to do it.
That makes sense. Rob, is that what you think?
I mean, I understand, but I don't know, the set date we can set up for, but I mean, we've even contemplated, Dennis had one conversation, I should say contemplated, if they wanted to come back, and we will do an online learning with us. So you stay on for the rest of the semester, but you have the opportunity to do it with support in the school. That's one option. If we really didn't get into a chemistry room right now or US history room, it may not be across the board and it may come down to the teachers in the classroom if it's just not a great fit. But if we're clear on that we welcome them back into the room with no promises of exactly what that day is going to look like, but we're here to come in and we will do, you know, at least get some electives or, you know, whatever.
That is a great idea.
We had one conversation about it, but if you guys approve this, we'll have a lot more conversations about it, so.
Well, that would take some of the weight off the teachers of trying to figure this out. And, you know, we're just bragging about that beautiful collaboration space.
It sounds great, but you know how, I mean, it's like me and Dennis has gone across country
Takes
and now
person there all the time.
then they're just sitting there and who knows if they're on game 2, but we at least have some eyeballs on it, and, you know, but
And they wouldn't have to go right back into the classroom.
no, there would be some, I
Go
mean,
on with that.
if they're have an IEP, maybe they get to the IEP room for 3 periods and we just, you know, have them, there's probably options, and some would depend on the student. There's some students that would want, we have some phenomenal students doing online work that could easily, I think the ones that we're talking about, the pretty high, at least Jason and I have conversed, so it would be IEP kids that are gonna struggle, how to get that with some help, so. We have MTSS times, there's a lot of opportunities that they can get face-to-face with teachers and they're just here all day.
Mhm.
I mean, it would depend on who the individual kid is and what that schedule looked like and what we did with them.
Any other questions, discussion? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
To amend our board policy,
Did you hear?
To,
would that be the correct way,
Yep,
Julie?
to amend the board policy and what,
Return
to,
to school.
at any time?
Any specific dates, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The week-
November.
Okay, or those dates right now? No, I'm just kidding.
Let me get the calendar out here.
They would start on that date and they can't start after that date, right?
Right.
Whether it's elementary or.
Your date different.
No.
So,
So basically, based on the elementary date.
so are you saying not the end of the first quarter for Rob?
We don't have quarters.
It's on our calendar.
Was it like November 2nd? The week
Well, the end of the first
We actually-
trimester is November.
And we do grade reports every 6 weeks, so in a trimester, but grades only happen at the semester. I mean, we actually purposefully work on the learning and the objectives, not the grade. But we send something out every 6 weeks. So the date, if we do this, you can start to, well, I would rather it start when I get off jury duty, but it would start whenever we can get our feet under us here and have a plan.
Well, the end of the first trimester is 13th. So that's, we have parent-teacher conferences that week, and then there's no school on Friday the 13th. So what if we started Wednesday, November 16th? That would be the beginning of the second trimester for the elementary, and then secondary could just pick up where they left off. That'd give teachers about 2.5 weeks to get a plan together of, and give Jason or Rob and Dennis and, whoever to have time to sit down and figure out who's coming back. But we might need to send something out to parents, say, we need a commitment if you're going to come back, so start planning a schedule for your kid, like especially at Rob's level. The little kids, they can do the classroom a little bit.
So like parents, like within a week from today?
How long do you need? If we said, what is today? The
But
21st?
I mean, true, whatever, Jason, and I would keep it K-12, so whatever we send out.
We could do the
whatever we
30th,
send.
that would be,
By October 30th or November 2nd. So that's a Monday.
Jason, you on again?
Yep.
That date sound right with you then?
So we're not bringing them back until the 16th?
Yeah, that's the beginning of the second trimester. According to this calendar, end of the first trimester is November 13th.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of weird to call it the end of the trimester when our report cards come out the week before that. You know what I mean? And we have conferences. I mean, because it's really, we're not reporting up to the 13th. So reporting, I'm just going to say it out loud that reporting for me isn't the big issue because, we're standards reference graded. We're constantly working within the standards and those skills. And so whether a kid comes on the 13th or the 16th after we've sent out a report or not isn't really the big deal for us because we're going to take them where they're at and keep working them. So, yeah.
What law? Because it doesn't matter to Rob at all. So
Say that again.
secondary teachers, we need to give the teachers a little time to prepare for this. So what date did you have in your mind that you thought would be a great date?
Well, I'd bring my kids back on Monday, November 2nd, to be honest with you. But that's me. What do we have to do? We got to put a desk in there and we got to print off some extra copies of stuff. For us, I don't know what else we need to do. I really don't. Because we've every one of those kids have been fast tested that are at home. So we know where they're at in fast testing. Many of them are coming in and getting progress monitored. So we get their progress monitoring data. So on some level, those that want to come back, we're ready to get going right now.
Okay, so then I guess more Rob's ability. When do you want? How long is your jury duty? Again?
Well, it's at least tomorrow, probably Friday, but if I'm selected to the grand jury, it will start on November 9th, Monday.
Oh.
And that's about a coin flip because we're down to 15 of us are choosing for 8 spots. I tried to be bad today. And shut everybody else down.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I want to give the teachers enough time, and Jason's saying they could come tomorrow. So really, like, how much time do you think?
I said November 2nd, really, but I mean,
November 2nd.
November 2nd's a Monday.
From this
So-
next Monday.
So next
So
Monday is the
something
26th.
on Monday,
We can have a week.
and then have a week till they can come back. They'd have to.
Is
I
that
guess
good
I'm-
for your teachers? Is a week enough time for them to like get their head around this and for us to get a plan together for what are we gonna do with these secondary kids?
the time that you said that would probably determine which classes we put them
Mm-hmm.
in. We're gonna get it. I'm gonna get some pushback out of 2 or 3 pretty dynamic teachers, and it's probably just better to say, unless that's a battle we want to fight, then we're just gonna go ahead and put them in the room next to me with Dennis on that. I won't even say what class, but during that curriculum period, and then they just stay online with that.
Mm-hmm.
But if we have the ability to choose what their schedules are, as long as I have 3 or 4 or 5 days.
Okay, so should we just go with November 2nd? So-
Really, I mean, yeah, whatever Jason wants to
Okay.
work.
How about we say they have to let us know by, let's say, 21st, like next Wednesday? I can send, or you guys can send something out tomorrow to, no, you can't send something. Dennis could?
Well, shouldn't it just come K-12 from?
Well, I don't know who else the online learning. It's just gonna be the online kids. We're not sending. But I mean, I can. I don't. Just say which families I need to
So
contact.
they're gonna get something, Jason does his and Dennis does mine, then that thing is gonna get, it's gonna say, and it's gonna say something different. It'll be the same date, but
Mhm.
why?
Well, yeah, so if Dennis can get me the names of yours. Okay, I will send out the email. So we're saying they can come back November 2nd. Well, I guess we haven't even voted on it yet. You guys good with that?
Would want to know by next Monday.
Yeah,
They're coming.
yeah, so
That would
Monday,
always
October.
be one.
Okay.
Right.
If we can send something out tomorrow, Friday. That's the weekend.
Yeah, and then,
It sounds like most of the people that are gonna come are, I mean, they're gonna jump at the chance. so. Have to think about it too long.
okay.
Do we have to ask for any sort of commitment or something kind of definitive to say yes or no, they will or they won't come back just for planning purposes, or? I mean, because I'm just wondering logistically if a bunch of kids show up on the 2nd that you weren't prepared for.
Yes, I'll tell them they have until the 26th to let us know. And
Okay.
they can show up on Monday, November 2nd, but after the, like, Tuesday, November 3rd, like we're opening this up. for-
Wouldn't the 27th be too late? If they
Well,
need to
yeah.
Let you know by the 26th.
Yeah. And so they just need
And then
to,
we'd like to hear back, both positively and negatively. I mean, if they're gonna visit home,
Mhm.
we'd like them to respond
They have to.
that they're gonna stay at home.
And you have to worry about, why did I get the email?
well, but there's some that may just not, because they haven't logged in once, so they're probably not gonna, I mean, we assume it's gonna stay online.
Yeah.
But there's some
But they'll
that
get the
just,
email.
they'll get the email. It doesn't mean they'll reply to it. But we can do our best to try and get it through. So, okay, so the 26th and November 2nd.
So we had a motion.
Who was the motion?
Debbie,
Oh, Lord.
to allow, to amend the board policy to allow the students one chance to return to in-person learning on November 2nd.
And once they get in here, they're staying here for the rest of the year. They don't need to go back to online,
It's gonna be a one-time
and we'll waive,
chance to make.
and we'll waive the second reading. I just need a second.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we need to do roll call on board policy?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Amendment to the board policies approved.
The semester, what's, so if you could come back, realize, gee, this isn't really what I wanted to do, so now I want to go back home. Let everybody start the fresh.
Well, right, now we have to, everybody has to commit to what, like, we have to decide what our second semester policy is.
Yeah.
Because right now it's- yeah.
Thoughts were in the second semester. You know what I'm asking?
Right. But if we open it up to the district, I don't know if we can say, but U6 don't get to decide what to do in the second semester, because if everybody.
I would assume we're opening up to everybody.
Yeah.
My concern would be again, when they decide, and I know it's.
They'll go for
Jay
another
said,
month
I'm
and
gonna go,
then-
and I'm gonna stay home now, and then realize again, at what point in the semester, we obviously then taking them back. Because we'll start to get some of those, I'm just grumpy and I have teachers with Luther, with whatever, that, and then they realize, oh, this thing's way overwhelming and going with these classes online, and then they want to come back again.
Maybe that's a conversation like you and me and Jason, we can kind of like put our heads together, once we figure out, because we really as a board need to decide, what are we even gonna do second semester, but I don't know that anyone's really, I don't know a lot of districts that have made that decision yet, what they're gonna do for their second semester policies.
The problem is you make a decision now and it could
Yeah,
change
change.
5 times
Change,
between.
exactly.
I mean, I guess I'd like to be a little, I can see your point, Rob, that we don't need bopping back and forth, but
No.
One time, which,
Well, and all these policies expire.
The 31st anyway, so,
And I think that we have to see what the Iowa Department of Ed decides.
Right.
You know, and Zooms and all that, they think that it'll be extended to the end of the school year, but it'll be in it like different ways, you know.
so we really can't make any long-term decisions yet, because we just don't have the information. Okay, and then the other thing that part of that, opening back up, what are your thoughts about opening it up to back or I guess not just back outside groups? You know, like I said, I've had several people, like some individuals who've reached out to me to our facilities, and we've had groups reach out. I've had, lots of, not just back to rec, I've had actually groups reach out, just ask, how long is this gonna go? If we're willing to cleaning and follow your protocols, I just need to know what you think about. Do you want that to happen? Do you want that not to happen?
Well, if you have like, because I've had a conversation a couple times about it. You know, if you have guidelines that, you know, they, a contract, let's say, that they commit to, do we do that? I mean, so Baxter Rec, I feel like they would do a good job of following. But maybe other groups wouldn't have the means or the financial. I mean, how does that work? You know, like, let's say, for instance, Bay. I mean,
I don't know if we can pick and choose on who we let, but I mean, if we're gonna open it up to one.
if they can't follow that.
Well, that'd be the thing. I mean, if it's an individual that wants to walk in the halls, you can, but you're gonna have to clean the halls.
Right.
So
So they can't.
it might not be feasible for them, but I guess
I mean,
that's
is
kind of
that a
my
way
thing.
that,
if Ray wants to, it's like, okay, here's the criteria. Clean your area when you're done and that, or H or.
I mean, is that fair to do it that way? I mean,
Yeah.
that way, because that's, I mean, some might not have the means to be able to do it. I mean, that's just, you know, that's the way it is. It's the way it is, you know.
Yeah, I think that they'll have to their normal protocol as well, and then add on the cleaning protocol.
You talk to staff enough to know what exactly they want with Baxter Rec, is it gym time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want
They're-
little kid basketball.
weekends. That's about what they're gonna get. That'll be a shock to them because I think if you're school in junior high, you want 5:30 to 7:30. I'm not saying, by the time we get our group out cleaned up, 8 or 8:30 on most nights before they can get it.
And I did.
And that's why I was having a direct, I mean, has to do with that. So I found out how, I'm not saying it's never, but it will look very different for them. And I'm not saying that's a reason not to let it be done. To me, it's a COVID decision, not because I'm in the
Not
process.
scheduling.
Weekends
Yeah.
always seem better to me because all of a sudden we're not battling with a group coming in and coming out. You know, then there's no monitoring or something that gets done. I don't know if they'd just be happy with the weekend. I've been shocked at how many schools do little kids basketball. I mean, that the little kids stuff has been COVID free. They can't get COVID at those tournaments, I guess. So I don't know.
Why are the gyms more tight up this year? than
Wrestling.
year- Because of wrestling.
Yeah.
And
And
home wrestling, and then a little bit of coaches in middle school. So we talked, and this is unofficial, but if middle school has practice so much at 6:15 in the morning, wouldn't parents, if we surveyed them or talking, which we're going to do, would they not rather go at 5:30 and late because the gym will open back up at 5:30? But I'd rather get up and bring my kid to school at 6 in the morning or when I get home from work. So I told our coaches there's some flexibility. So I guess Baxter, 6:15 on those mornings.
They have before.
Okay. It'd just be balanced, and it's good but in general, because wrestling's there, home wrestling, and then we want to keep the mat done somewhere, we're keeping the mats out, so we don't have to move them, at least this semester. I knew this was coming in the second, but I mean, this is the schedule. We'll just have to make it work.
We didn't talk in that.
Yeah, they'll just have to
I'm sure I've
contact.
had zero conversation with maybe.
And I just
with
said today with
Yeah,
her.
they'll just have to contact Cass and say, what do you got open? You know, because he's.
Yeah,
the
we have the
facility.
activity. Yeah, we got a facilities.
We have to go
company,
through
so-
that process, no matter what.
I just think if there's a contract, if they can meet it.
like, here's our policy. If
But
you
if
can
they
do that,
can't,
then
they're, I mean,
yeah.
they're not allowed. Right.
So what about, cause like facility rental, like Baxter Rec does that and all that kind of thing. But what if I'm, you know, Lena Clapper and I want to walk the halls? Like just like before or after school, or like in the evenings, or when did we even let them do that before?
I didn't know that we did. I thought that was taken care of and they were down in the wellness center.
I mean, I
And
guess.
it wasn't Lena Clapper. but-
No, yeah, I don't remember that happening for a long time.
And
Well, it's probably before I get here.
Donna, yeah, they are, Donna and Diane, there's people that walk. in.
That was gonna say, right?
They walk the halls here.
So why can't they do
There's no real walk.
on the treadmill?
I don't think like treadmills.
I don't think you can, like we said, pick and choose. I mean, if you can't clean the hallways, I know that's ridiculous, but, I mean.
You
You're not letting
But-
parents
You have to
there.
clean the area that you use.
Yeah,
So, I
and they
mean,
have
if
to
you-
wear a
If
mask.
you use the gym, you clean the gym. If you
to
walk
wear a
on the
mask.
hallway,
Parents can't even come in to see their kindergarten.
Yeah,
We're not gonna let somebody come
Right,
and just
yeah,
walk.
just
Right.
randomly walk in. I can't even go to the Newport town when.
Yeah, at least, I mean, when you're talking about rec, you're talking about students that are already here throughout the day.
They're-
Yeah, everywhere.
That's gonna mean that this whole basketball looks so much different than volleyball, I think,
Yeah, I'm sure.
with both gyms, and then obviously our collaborative space is open, which we've got people are gonna be coming in and out of there, and then there's no block in the middle. Even during volleyball, I was chasing kids from other schools and our schools. That's one thing in itself that they're still around, but then you kind of even forget the whole COVID. I don't know what the plan is with Pam or those, and I don't, just, I don't.
Yeah, I think they use that sprayer and
Air
that fogger thing
Fogger.
and clean it like at night, but I don't know. I mean, if they would just do it like
After the game.
After the games, or if they just do it
Free, I don't.
Monday morning before our kids get back here, or
That's what everybody's talking about.
Rec should be
That's gonna
Oh, yeah,
allow
that's true.
people to know
Yeah.
100 more.
Pam thought she'd be okay with
yeah.
groups
hmm
if they can.
I like the checklist idea of like, you know, kind of work with Pam to say, okay, what is it that needs to have happen every, you know,
Like John said, though, who
Yeah, who's
Seeing
gonna
if they actually,
monitor?
if they actually do it.
Well, I mean, I
Well, I
suppose you
think
have to
that
take
you-
people at their word too.
Well, and if
you
they're
know?
using the fogger, I mean, you're gonna be able to tell if the thing's empty. If a kid
true.
comes in,
Yeah.
you know. You're probably not gonna be able to tell if they're wiping things down.
And you,
If they need to wear their masks in the public areas like
Well,
we
I
do.
mean, and some of the time there'll be a janitor here. I think.
Mhm.
Well,
And there's
not on
always the
weekends.
cameras. I mean, we've got
Well, not
53
on
cameras.
weekends, but yeah.
So we'll be able to see if they
Right.
did it or not. If we really wanted to double check, I mean, we could turn
We
the
can just
video
put
on.
that part of the deal, it's gonna be monitored,
Mhm.
Mhm.
either in person or on camera, so.
Yeah, I guess that's, yeah.
Sign checklist, to sign off on.
I
it.
Yeah, we've done a great job so far as a district.
Exactly.
How
You
good
don't
we
wanna
have.
mess it up.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
winter's
Right.
gonna be worse, as far as
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
sports here.
Mhm.
Well, and just the other. Well, it is.
How do you feel about it all, Kim? Working at the,
Yeah. It makes me uneasy, to be very honest, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
If I'm, as a parent, if I'm not allowed in the school to have lunch with my kids, I have a hard time justifying how we're gonna open up our, I don't know, I'm all over the place with it because we're obviously doing it for high school. Is that right? I don't know, but we're doing it. Should I be able to do that with my younger kids? We're going to bring in a whole lot of other people. If we're going to have cleaning expectations for parents, really volunteers to be doing these things, kids are going to be around, or those things. I don't know if we really want to have a fogger around if there's kids, if we're fogging the gym or what, just there's a lot of questions I have about how we're going to make that be operational.
If they stay out until Christmas, we may get them fundraising more for something out there.
Look on the bright side.
Is there a way that, like, for instance, Baxter Rec we could have a conversation with them about limiting? the amount of
Stacia did
teams,
talk
the
about
amount
that.
of Spectators, I mean, we could,
Yeah, she talked about limiting the number of teams and doing it like, they'd maybe start practicing in December and have games in January on the weekends like they typically do.
that's what I was just
Yeah.
thinking about. We have
That's-
Greenville Silicon here, Yeah, and they're not
Yeah.
mask mandate.
oh, yeah.
Well, but they're a mask mandate now. No, this is
Oh.
like those tournaments. But I'm just telling you, our kids, if they don't play here, they're gonna take their teams and they're gonna go play somewhere else. So, and like with we've got kids who've already inquired about going to play in Collins Maxwell's league. If we don't let our kids come, they're gonna go play somewhere else. And we have a lot of teams that come here in January and play in our tournaments, and if we don't have those, they're gonna find other tournaments, and they're not necessarily gonna come back. When this is over, they're gonna come back.
Is it a tournament or a league?
It's a
It's-
league, and then
yeah,
there's tournaments too, like the Boosters do a huge tournament that's
Yeah, that I
like a
knew
huge,
about.
yeah.
And then that usually goes like 1 month, so it's like
Like
4
4
weekends.
4 weekends in January, and then there's a tournament usually February.
About 6 different.
Mhm. Like it changes. It's been a long time since I've
There's so many people that come to those little kid basketball tournaments. I mean, so if we're limiting the number of, are we limiting the number of teams? Are we limiting the number of people who can come as well?
And who's gonna police that?
No
mean,
kidding.
proposal.
I mean, high school sports, some high school events. My sister came and watched her daughter play swim in a swim meet. So how is it okay for us to open up our events for hundreds of people at a little kids basketball tournament? I cannot feel good about that at all.
That's why I'm wondering if they can do something to limit the spectators. I don't know, I'm just. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
It goes again, having that many people together goes against every recommendation out there right now for COVID mitigation. Especially if we don't have anybody monitoring masks, that's going to be a big mess.
So, and the policy says outside groups, and so we're gonna have to amend that policy too. And we didn't have that brought up in this agenda.
I would start with, it's like for flag football, we just had Baxter teams. We just play Baxter teams. You know, age groups. I don't know if that's somewhere they could start there. See if they could have 2 or 3 teams from the age. That would kind of alleviate the 5 other 10. I don't know if that's possible or not, but like Kim said, gosh, you walk through there, there's commons is full, the pack, I mean, they're everywhere, running up and down the hall.
Yeah, and we don't want to lose sight and lose our education. Have an outbreak here, and shut down because of that, you know, because of the extracurricular deal. I
You were
kind of
gonna
like
say
your,
Mhm.
if they can do something on a like small scale, or it's kids that are here anyway, type deal. I don't.
I don't know if that's gonna be good enough.
Right.
Are you?
I think that's a better option than doing nothing though, Corey. I think that's a reasonable option. I mean, thinking about like rec volleyball is 3rd through 6th grades. So it's 3rd, 4th play together, 5th, 6th play together. So even doing that with, yeah, and limiting that to just our own kids, they're already together anyway. I would, yeah, that seems more logical than inviting a bunch of teams in.
Are you letting parents in now?
The parents in now for games.
Well, would they be amenable to just having Baxter rec but not hook mountains? I know that
Right.
the money thing is, but we could meet in the middle and practice and, you know, and then go to other towns for their tournament. I don't know.
I can't speak to, like, I don't know. I just know they want to use their gym. And they're willing to clean it. And Baxter Adult Rec.
The impression I got, now, I didn't ask them, but the impression I got was it was like normal. The tournaments, the practice.
She did mention to me that they would be very willing to limit teams. Like not in, I don't know, 20, I don't know. We could certainly ask Stacy to put something together and send to us or come to the next meeting. She just was saying she needs to get information out to parents. If we're gonna have it, she needs to get stuff out to parents. And if we're not gonna have it, they can go take their kids somewhere else, say, if they want to.
It's not very popular for me, but I would just say, I mean, we didn't even have a homecoming company. And now we're talking about outside entities, unless something's changed out there. I feel like people are thinking it's changing, but it's not changing. And I just want to take care of it first as far as school and school activities. We're gonna have a homecoming, those things we're giving up. And then in 3 weeks, we're gonna say, hey, we're gonna bring in 7 schools on the weekend of people. I mean,
Like you said, we're
I
like
agree.
comfortable because we've been
I
so
think
good.
and that's just,
Well, I agree with that, because the main thing is, yeah, we want to screw up the academic part of it, have to close the school down because we had a bunch of rec teams in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we can
let's get
keep our
another
policy.
look back. I mean, I'm nervous about basketball, just looking at the guidelines and going, I mean, there's one of the junior high wrestling clubs, I mean, we're no parents. So I mean, there's schools out there that are saying, when they're coming to our place, we're a little different.
Okay, yeah, they just schedule one team per weekend rather than, I mean, yeah, it's gonna cut in a quarter, but
I can tell you our gate difference this year, if we, I mean, I get it.
Every business, I mean, every business is suffering on this.
Kids can still get to play, Which I agree, I mean, to me, it was like when, so I'm just thinking, well, Saturday, Sunday, can we get those teams in? And I thought there was, I didn't know what, I mean, I knew we had one big tournament this spring. I didn't know it was every weekend.
Mhm.
It's brand new to this, but I mean, there's times on the weekend, I'm less worried about cleaning and all that. I mean, we have kids in there. I don't know if we're cleaning the hall, we're cleaning the gym. I mean, that's, but you know, at least then it's two parents that are with the same kids every time they come to me, you know.
Mhm.
But it's not my decision. I'm just concerned that and perception a little bit of what we're giving up to what we're saying we're doing, but maybe times of check. I mean, you can table it a month too. I mean, they're gonna tell you, well, we're gonna lose all these tournaments. Well,
We're gonna have to
I
table
don't-
it.
Well, there's gonna be a lot of other
Everybody's in the
towns
same
that are gonna
boat.
lose
Yeah, they're
tournaments
gonna
too,
lose
I think.
too.
If they wanna go over to Columbus, unfortunately, then they'll deal with all those. Who knows whatever, but
That's the choice they make.
yeah, exactly. I kind of like your idea. They just want to play among themselves, good playing time.
Well, I think we should try to work on gym time, whether it's over Christmas, that means keep looking at the situation, but I'm not trying to limit. I'm just thinking about this
Right.
group in our building that's kind of with.
Right.
12
Oh, don't even let our own public
We're not-
come and look at our new. We're
Gonna
The
run
fine
out of
with
town.
having-
first people may be in will be 70 schools on Saturday morning that
Yeah.
are, they'll all be running around our
Right.
new facilities. That's a concern in itself, just because we
Right.
can't lock that morning. Obviously, it's nice because it's open, but man, they'll be running.
Mhm.
Well, we have a policy in place right now, so, I mean, we can revisit it next month if we want to amend it. Or we can amend it tonight, but
Amend it to what, John, to allow additional, or to basically loosen up that policy?
yeah, to something that maybe like for event, you know, that it would be just no outside tournament or whatever, just be kids
Practicing.
practicing in our town, our school.
Does that open it up to Bay? Go back to the clean thing?
Good question, Ken.
Those are all kids.
We're not gonna let parents ever parent teacher conferences. I mean, it just doesn't seem real.
Yeah.
Right now.
But then
anyway,
I also get, like, I totally get that, and I'm not on either side or the other, but I also have parents say, we can't come in and have lunch, but we can come into the game, and I can, so you can, and we can let other fans from other towns come into the volleyball game or our basketball game. So like, I totally see where there's like hypocrisy in all, there's, the whole thing is hypocrisy everywhere, like, we just, doing our best, but like, we'll just support whatever you guys wanna do.
If we go through the end of the year here, I would say rec would start after the first of the year. Unless we wanted
They
to.
let them practice or not let them practice? 'Cause
Well, it just
they're-
depends on, I guess we want to change that.
But when do they start?
December,
I think the games were
the first.
like, not the
weekend,
first week. after
Second
the month,
week in
like,
January
yeah,
and goes
second
to the
and
First
like the first
week
one.
of February.
But if you push it back a month, where they have their games and tournaments more like February, March, we're getting towards the end of the basketball season. Because we have the March Madness, right? And maybe that would free up a little more gym
Our
time.
gym will open up from February to the second week. It'll open up tremendously. How many teams, I didn't know, so it's a league with how many different,
Well, there's
It's
like
like 8 or
grade
9,
levels,
it's-
they start at what?
and we
or how-
host them all.
Yeah,
Yes,
we
they
host
come
the
here
league
every
here in
weekend.
Baxter, every weekend.
So a lot of times, say, we'll come in, fifth, sixth grade boys will play 2 games in the morning, well, the girls might play that afternoon. There you get,
But we're
boys and
it's the same group every weekend. So
Yep.
Dale will come the
For
next
those-
weekend, the
yeah,
next
Pretty
weekend.
much.
yeah.
What, and the reason they don't host is financial.
Well, they maybe have different
I
leagues.
think rec just stepped up and made-
Yeah, we've just had this.
And our rec likes to not have to travel.
Okay.
It's been going Courtney played in it.
Yeah.
And so I missed him going when she was little and she's
I can't
23.
remember nobody's,
We used to
maybe
try.
half was, I know it was on here, he probably.
Sloan probably
Sloan
played.
played.
Yeah, I just didn't, I kind of was oblivious, except for the big tournament that we always.
Did
kind of
boosters.
wrapped.
It's 4 weeks in a row.
And they
and then
I
so
think
it's
the
like,
tournament really last year,
Yeah.
like between the last weekend, I think the boosters tournament was in between there.
yeah.
And 1 year they didn't have it, but yeah.
So you could potentially go to the end of the year, which coincides with policies.
All those towns are just waiting on us, which surprised me that no one's even contacted me if I'm.
It's
all
They
those towns-
probably-
more or less
contact.
like our parents are probably waiting to hear
Yeah.
what their plan is, so that those kids could go somewhere else, our kids could go somewhere else to.
Like all those schools, those rec teams and all those towns are just waiting to see if they can come here and play.
Yeah, probably,
Yeah,
or they'll just
probably.
find a different school to go to.
Well, I mean, Cass knows better than I, we did a STAR conference last meeting about this exactly, letting youth programs in, and I think it was, I don't know, a third said yes, a third were revisiting it, and a third probably said not till the semester, but then there was dialogue. A lot of it starts after Christmas, so we'll bias this semester to figure it out, but.
And then we didn't do volleyball.
Right,
Right.
no, no, one was across the board, I think there were no rec programs in most, at least of our conference.
Or indoor anyway. I mean, like,
Yeah,
we
maybe.
did.
But
just
that,
with
and that was
that-
just. for ourselves.
Yeah.
Do we have enough little kids on basketball that field like two first and second grade teams that can play each other?
With the football teams, I mean, it was 7 kid teams, I think, but you got 18 kids after football, and then you have a few basketball teams.
And we can't stop them for, that's the whole thing, when I guess, we can't stop the rec from going in any tournaments or anywhere they want to
They
go.
can go wherever they want.
That's it, if we're providing gym time, and
Then they
all we're
can
saying is
sign up.
financially, you're gonna take a hit this year. And maybe we don't, maybe we come around and say that, but I'm saying right now, this is like the only, if there's gung ho parents, they're gonna play, there's schools out there that are opening this up. But a lot of community buildings are doing it, you know, trying to stay away from it the best they can.
Oh, it makes sense.
One more reason.
I don't really care, there's only so much gym time before. When it'd be open up over Christmas break, there'd be a lot, I think.
Yeah, I feel like when the DE and the IDPH are pushing all these guidelines down on us, and then we just open it back up,
Yeah.
and we're going against those guidelines.
If you, what the unions put out that we need to do for wrestling and basketball, you just think, there's no way those folks would follow those guidelines. I mean,
Yeah.
no way.
But maybe when it comes to the 31st, when everybody has to decide again, I don't know, I think we're gonna get a lot of pushback if we end up having to shut down
I
the
get,
school because of the wreck.
and I get our kids need to play, so I mean, I understand 100% that you're gonna find, I mean, there were places playing padded little kids, all over the places, if you wanted to find it, you could go. Heck, this summer, they were playing in Missouri, because Iowa wouldn't host stuff. You can go play. I think our kids need to play, I just thought gym time would be the only thing I didn't realize. Most schools coming.
Mhm.
So,
What do we think?
I'd like to see a proposal.
See what-
See, I don't know if the full-on tournament.
I guess maybe we could relay to them that here's what our concerns are, is having a big tournament and that we might be willing to look at having just within Baxter time, like the flag football thing was.
Well, I think it makes sense to have like some gym time opened up on the weekends when it's available for Baxter practice. And then they can go somewhere else and play in a tournament if they so choose.
mhm.
and limit, I mean, no parents allowed, but just you have your team of 10 or whatever. I don't know. What do you think about that, Kim?
Yeah, I think I think that seems reasonable.
What if, so say Baxter has 4 teams, you know, you younger girls, older girls, younger boys, older boys. Whatever grade, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, however it works out. Say those 4 teams, say, okay, this weekend, we're gonna play Grinnell. You guys bring your teams over and play 4 games, or 2, I guess and that's it. But then maybe the next weekend you play whatever other team is in Newton, or I don't know who else, I don't remember who else is there. Just playing one team a week rather than having 6 or 8 towns here. I don't know. I mean, it'd be no different than like a high school or a middle school. You're still just playing one team that day. Granted, it's still gonna be more people because you've got, 4 teams there. I don't know if they're equal or not. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some way to say that they do a little tournament when at least have a little competition. I don't know. What do you think, Kim? Is that too much?
No. Do you think Baxter would be part of it each weekend, Corey, or are you thinking that like our facility would be the site, and sometimes it could be non-Baxter teams playing?
Well, I would think like a very small scale. Look how they do it now. The 4 weekends, like say the first weekend is Baxter versus Grinnell. The second weekend Baxter versus Little. But yeah, play here. That kind of give rec something to do, and
That's just playing every week, but it's a team every week.
right, but just one team, one town coming.
Right. So then the issue, I guess, is do those teams clean our facility
Right, then
when
yeah.
they're done?
However, rec wants to work that out. Say if rec wants to say, okay, you guys are pitching in to clean, that's up to them. But the building clean, and it'll be up to rec to figure out how to do that.
And I suppose we'd be the home school, so we collect the gate. Did they collect gate on those, for those, or is it just a tournament? Or maybe they would, I don't know.
No, they collect,
And we get the conception, so,
well, just,
I mean, rec, yeah, but like, that's kids.
yeah.
But then,
Families.
sorry, then we have all these other groups.
Exactly,
Right.
so if we open it up, we open it up. So, do we open it up to Bay, do we open it up to 4-H, which is 4-H is Baxter kids, Bay is Baxter kids.
Those are kind of simple, I guess. Like you said,
Yeah.
if they can't clean afterwards, then they don't use the building.
I guess maybe Station needs to give us some, maybe they wouldn't be interested in that at all.
Well, and I could sure just, I mean, she just popped in my office this morning, or
She
yesterday.
could mention like what
Yeah.
Corey brought up as a scenario,
Mhm.
because I don't know, personally, I think we're not in a big tournament with,
That's,
unless something changes between now and February, that could, but,
Mhm.
as it sits right now, I don't see things
Not
going
gonna,
good. Let's, throw open the doors and then we end up shutting down the whole damn school for
right.
months. So,
Well, how about this? I'll take the station and just say, kind of, here's some of the things the board talked about. Is there a way to limit the number of outside teams? Not really comfortable with the tournament just because there's too many people. Maybe put together some kind of, would we let them start practicing with Baxter kids in December, like the weekends, or not? I just want to make sure I say the right
At
thing.
6 in the morning, it sounds like it.
But
She
like-
needs the contact pass.
Right, but
normal
like, she could
process.
but are we open to letting them come in December to practice?
Maybe not, they're,
Yeah.
it's the same kids and each other, right? Yeah. So I
say
don't.
it's just that they came on Saturday, the gyms are gonna have to be cleaned.
Right.
But that's rec doing it, not.
Right. So that's gonna be.
So they could start in December. And I'll have her, I'll just kind of give you these ideas, and then probably I'll have her sit down, Cass and Rob and just kind of go through like, and probably Pam and go through like, hey, what are the cleaning expectations? And just kind of work something out and then either have her send it to me and then send it on to you guys and then we can approve it in November or whatever, but she could like give her parents a heads up that like, okay, this is how it's gonna possibly look, so keep it on your radar. Don't sign up for some other town's league in January, we're gonna have our own something, or whatever, she could be, I don't care how she says it, but just, we'll tell her that the door's open to possibly coming in.
Maybe they don't even wanna do it that way.
Yeah,
Better.
I mean, yeah, and they might just practice. I mean, one time when Trice was little, he didn't play in Baxter League. His whole class of kids had their own little team, and they went to other towns and traveled because they didn't want to play Baxter Rec anymore. So I mean,
Yeah, there's
other options.
But I think they're gonna,
practice.
I don't know if they're gonna be playing either. Those are the leagues.
True.
They're
Yeah.
in some of those weird.
Yeah.
But the Rob said
There'll
some.
be some.
Yeah,
Like,
some, but I
like-
don't think it'll be to the
Like,
extent that
I
it is.
need to lay down there somewhere.
Yeah. So then with our other like with Bay and Corey, like we'll kind of come up with this cleaning protocol.
And
And
they
if
still
they
have to
can
go with certificate of insurance, the normal facility usage. We'll have to get all that in.
Do we have that in place already for like, do they redo it every year?
Yeah, I mean, in past, like, for a, I'm not, they kind of just, and this is no fault of anyone. They just kind of roam the whole area. You know, maybe.
And maybe if we tell them like, whatever areas you use, you have to
You clean,
clean.
yeah.
It
You know, you
might,
can't be in the commons, you can't be in the library, you can't be in the gym, all of those, you gotta.
But any of the public areas, they need to wear their mask.
Yeah,
You know, like when they're transferring from one place to another and yeah,
That's a lot of space.
a lot.
I think going back to rec basketball, like Rob was talking about the guidelines, I was looking through some of those the other day. Basketball for the women. This is what you guys need to follow,
mhm,
leaving space around the benches and
mhm.
spaced out players.
Yeah, I agree with that, Corey. Rob, whatever the guidelines are from for high school sports, I would think our expectations, if we're going to open up for rec, have to be the same.
Maybe we
It
just-
wouldn't make sense to have less restrictions in place for little kids just because. Consistency is good.
Yeah, maybe that needs.
So I think that's part of whatever the proposal is from Stacia for rec too. That's my opinion anyway.
Like Julie said, along with their building requirements, masks outside and masks wherever, so.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you, and then I actually got an email from this lady while we were sitting here, just wondering what we decided about letting her use this tool. Walk in through inclement and colder weather. That same lady. She said, "We're in the Baxter School Board meeting, but the sound system was such that I really couldn't understand much of what was being said. So I just thought I would read on our visit regarding an area of the school to walk in colder weather. Please offer an update when you have time." I guess this particular lady has to do some physical therapy or something. So, I mean, obviously we have the wellness center that is an option.
Well, as it sits right now, we haven't changed the board policy at all.
No,
So I don't think
I'll
there's.
just-
So I guess I'd recommend that she can use a treadmill in the
Mhm.
wellness center. That's open to the public. Or there's recumbent bikes or what they're, physical therapy stuff.
And we have a trainer in there. Help her.
Mentioned.
Yeah, I should. I will. What days? Well, we'll figure that out later. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for your input on that. Now we can get on to the,
Yeah, we kind of snuck that one up.
yeah,
Hour and a half later.
yeah. The rest of the stuff should be pretty quick though.
Okay, the next item is resolutions of community participation in the instructional support.
Yep, so, this is really just, now that we've gone through the votes, and I'll tell you what the votes were, and then, we just approved the resolution. Read down there. Just below, right, actually, it's just right above that A's and the days. That paragraph, the public meeting approved, 58 voting yes and 1 voting no upon the public meeting, wherein one of you will make a motion and then somebody will make a motion to adopt and roll call the vote on this. And it's just to put, just continuance of it. So the 58 votes for yes, and there was 1 no vote. And she actually told me that it was an undervote, which I had never heard of.
It was a what, really?
An undervote. And so what that is there was 2 questions and they didn't complete both questions. That's what an undervote. So they said yes on one and left the other one blank, or said no on and left it blank. So there was 1 undervote.
Mm.
So that was awesome. Yep.
Right.
So you can do a resolution now.
Okay. And that is, where was that again?
Just the paragraph right above, yeah, page
Second page.
right above the A's, where it says the public measure is approved, 58 voting yes on the public measure.
Okay. Following public, okay. So I just need to read that.
Just read that little paragraph there and somebody can make a motion.
Okay. So the Board of Directors of Baxter Community School District in the counties Jasper and Marshall, State of Iowa, be authorized for a period of 10 years to continue to levy and impose an instructional support tax in an amount after taking into consideration instructional support aid of not to exceed 10% of the total regular program cost of the district year and monies received under section 257.14 Code of Iowa. As a budget adjustment in the budget year and be authorized annually in combination as determined by the board to levy an instructional support property tax on all school property in the school district, commencing with the levy of property taxes for the collection of the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, and to impose an instructional support income surtax upon the state individual income tax. Each individual income tax payer resident in the school district on December 31st for each calendar year commencing with calendar year 2021, or each year thereafter, the percent of the income surtax determined by the board for each fiscal year to be used for any general fund purpose.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
You nailed it, John.
So would somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Corey Robinson, Debbie Meyer,
Yes.
Kim Ticky,
Yes.
John Northrop.
Yes. Okay, next item is. Somebody say something? That may just feedback on participation in the Iowa drug and alcohol testing program.
This is just what we use for our cost starter. Just trying to test them. So we just need to prove the same company that.
You want to make that motion? Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. Opposed, aye. Motion's approved. Continue participation in the Iowa Drug and Alcohol Testing Program. Next item is 2020-2021 district calendar start date. That's what we had hearing on earlier to put forth Monday, August 25th. Proposed start date for the 2021-2022 school year. Any discussion or questions on that? Somebody want to make a motion that we choose August 23rd, 2021 as our start date? Got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye. The same sign. Motion's approved. Open enrollment applications.
We have some open enrollment in for Scarlett, Lillian, and Cody runs.
They already go to school. It's just after a move from one district to another, so we transfer the billing to another district, so it's an issue.
We have a motion to approve the open enrollment in application as presented for the family. We have a second. All in favor, aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's approved for the open enrollment in application. Any other open enrollment?
No, just.
Okay.
All right.
Anything facilities, grant, transportation? We kind of talked about that. Only thing, did we reach out to the transportation?
Yeah, he is going to try and.
Okay.
I don't know if it has already happened. But I know that I he tried that here.
Okay. The personnel actions. Next item is the district enrollment for the 2020-2021 year.
So if you click on that blue, the one that says friends, I think this might be the document you were talking about. I found it.
Okay.
So it goes, this is our history way back. This year we have 14 new in-district kids that actually moving back here, which is special. And then open enrollment, we're 10 kids from 107 to 117. And overall, we're up to 24 kids. Yeah, I know, that's awesome.
That's never.
Yeah, it's really, really fantastic. And, you know, it's nice to see the open enrollment numbers continuing to go up, but it's really terrific to see our in-district kids, kids going up, because there's some things that the funding only follows those kids. So the open enrollment stuff doesn't travel. So it's really great. It's great.
They're in district, they've kind of been on a slide. So we've kind of.
And like Rob said, we've got kids, you know, obviously, you know, ones, but some really nice, good kids, just some gems to add to the district. It's been, you know, it's been a nice thing to see. So, you know, and you know, watching the news, there's a lot of places who are just down kids or kids that don't enroll at all. They're just homeschooling this year. And so, you know, we have a handful of doing that, but not very many. You know, there's other districts I saw in the news that are like 1,100 kids down, $8 million deficit. So glad to not be there. And if you look, if you are interested in like more detailed data, oh, it's gone.
I'm so sorry.
Well, there it is. She's not interested in the. She doesn't read it. She's like, I'm ready to go home. So I just added like some screenshots of our certified enrollment and our SRI data, just for over the course of the last 6 years. If you want to see like grade level, I mean, you can't click on them because it's not live, it's a screenshot, but you can see how many kids we have in it. classes and stuff. It's just a little more detailed stuff. And then the same thing, I just linked it on here too. But this is a little confusing. Don and I were taking a look at it, trying to decipher what it even means. So he said, there's some document somewhere. And so we found it, and I found it. And so that was good that we could, an easier one to follow. He said you've used that, well, obviously, since not computing, you've used that one, so. I was
I
still,
think we used that one as part of the work session we usually have too.
that's where I found the folder. So.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah. So there's really no action with that. That's information. And then honestly, I probably could get into the superintendent report just for your FYI. So then if you want to go down, or any questions on that? If you want to go down, click on, we have a new list of SiAC. And then we just need you, do they have to officially approve the list of SiAC?
Generally, we do.
Oh, yes, okay, so we need to approve this. And
I'll
then,
list them all in.
okay,
Just say,
so here's the list, and then if
Approve
you
as
see at the
listed.
very bottom, it says 2 teachers, 1 from Rob, 1 from Jason. We'll have to get those actually in here.
Okay.
So, and then Josh is going to these people and invite them, and we're going to just have a virtual meeting. He and I visited it today, probably sometime in November, between fall and winter sports. And we're just going to talk about some of the goals and go through some data and just kind of talk through all the things and, you know, how are they dealing with COVID? Just a few different kind of touch base things. And then we'll hopefully have an actual face-to-face meeting, but we'll just have to see how that goes. Oh, did I put the wrong one?
no, you got the right.
Okay. I can never remember. Okay, so that's SiAC. And then just a reminder, oh,
I think it should be Mackenzie, but I was.
That is.
oh, I get it wrong every time. Like, it's like I didn't involve her, because I don't ever, it's like having twins. Yeah. Yeah. Then for anyone who wants to go, you can't.
No,
Oh, well, I will give you all of it.
Thanks,
later.
ma'am.
Remind me, do you want me to do it right now? Okay. Well, you guys look at the notes about if you want to go to the ISB conference. Well, I'm giving the rights to Julie.
So can that, it's Zoom.
Yeah.
It's Zoom.
Can you Zoom anytime? Do you have to take off work to do Zoom?
I don't think so.
You can do a Zoom.
No, I mean, like, the convention, can you log on at a different time than when they-
Oh, is it recorded?
Yeah. Like, could I do it at night?
I think that you can. Let me double check. We'll still pay for it, but it doesn't really matter. That's why I think it'll be recorded. So, yeah, I think that you probably can, but just let me double check and then I'll get all of you and let you know that, okay?
Thanks.
And I sent you the schedule. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, if you want to go to that, Julie can give you the link if it's, you can watch it
When do
later.
you
Or
need
whatever.
to-
Actually, I think you can get it to that day.
I don't think I'm in. If anybody else. is.
I will if I can do it
At a different
at a
time.
different time.
Sure. Sure.
Okay. And then the other one, I just have some dates on there. We haven't, since I've been here, board tour, the facility tour, but it might be a good time to doing it. That date must have been the corresponding date to when we were going to do it. Oh, okay, well then that's probably not.
We usually do it on the day before, the
It
same
says
day
like
of a board
fourth-
meeting.
17th, okay, so well, let me just correct that.
We usually start at 4:30.
Yep, that's what it says, 4:30, but it says on the 19th. So just pick your calendars to see if Wednesday at 4:30 on February 17th works for you. The board meeting is at 6. You know, it's 4:30 too early for you guys? Or would, if you can come any earlier, because board meetings used to start at 7 and now they start at 6. Is that gonna be enough time?
Really,
If I can,
Truck.
I can.
But even at 4:30, 4:30.
I mean,
We
would,
just have to
We
not,
won't have
not,
not with the new year. So,
yeah, true.
okay. Well, we can leave it at 4:30 if that works, or whatever.
and there, I can make.
We'll just try to
whatever
keep
work.
them.
Okay.
Just time to conflict.
I'll go to
Don't worry,
second.
it'll be the best.
There's less to see here now.
Yeah. All right, and then the work session, last year we broke it into 2 evenings because, Kim had little ones with Dan, Rob had some things going on. And I spent the first night, mostly on data, and then the second night mostly on finances. And I don't know how people feel, if we go back to the 2 nights, 2 weeknights, or do the Saturday. The corresponding dates would be March 3rd, what we did last year. And Rob, you didn't have any Shrine Bowl stuff, right? The dates, First and
I
third.
think that, maybe we checked that.
I think we're
I think
good.
those were good.
Yeah.
Is that one on Saturday?
No, these are
Then
both,
I'm- was that Saturday, I think, this year.
yeah, these are a Tuesday and a Thursday, no, a Monday and a Wednesday.
I kind of like it personally. But I could,
Split it up a little bit.
yeah, it was.
Mhm. I like June.
I'm fine with splitting it up too.
What? What'd you-
I'm fine having it split up too. Either way really works fine.
So we want to go 2
Wednesday,
evenings
March?
again? Okay.
I guess we will put that order. Seances or whatever. Okay, and then just a reminder, the board meeting in March is moved up to the 10th because of spring break. And then the April board meeting is moved up to the 14th because we have to certify the budget by the 15th. That's it.
Okay. We'll move back up and we have a motion to approve the SiAC
Oh,
committee as presented.
So moved.
Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye. SiAC committee approved as presented. Okay,
that's it.
is that it? Anybody else have anything? We have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting's adjourned.
All right, we're gonna log off. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Good night.
Yep. Just be, okay, yep, varsity, varsity.